Medic 25, Medic 24. Go ahead, 24. Is your ambulance currently blocked in?
Does not appear to be. It's at the south end of the parking lot.
Clear. Be advised all other ambulances are blocked in with supply lines at this time. If something else happens, we're going to have to take your bus.
No problem. Just take care of her.
County Dispatch, 1791 will be en route. Warren board.
1791.
Command, be advised, we got operations in Medic 21.
All right. Hey everybody. I'm here. Hey, Victor, Brandon, Ding Ding, thank you for being here, guys.
Yeah, traffic for operations.
We are monitoring a live 4-alarm Starship fire currently in Elkhart City. I'm trying to get more information on it right now.
Operations Command, Jeff, traffic. County Dispatch, 1791.
Negative.
1791.
Command and operations, be advised, we have one personnel in Medic 21.
Can you advise if we have a key holder? Clear on that.
There is no key holder responding.
The Elkhart Squad 2 is on scene. Very large manufacturing facility. Nothing showing at this time. I do have some people out in the parking lot. Look like they have their evacuation going. Squad 2 will be going in for investigation.
Squad 2.
Medic 25 on the ladder. Turn around and go down the other way.
105 Elkhart on ops. You are 90 minutes in.
Thank you, dispatch.
Okay, so there you go.
All units on the fire
90
ground.
minutes
90
in
minutes
on the fire.
in. 90
minutes. The reason they tell them when they're 15, 30, 45, the reason they do that is because they'll now have to go to the other channel and do an accountability check and make sure that all of their people are safe and accounted for. That's something that they started back when I was doing it. They would get all done with a fire years ago and discover that we had lost a firefighter during the fire and nobody realized it.
Tell me what you need.
Tragedy, of course. And so there is
About to head up. 25 coming down.
there's very good accountability systems now to prevent that from happening again. We had these little Velcro tabs that go on our helmets, and they would go on the passport on the truck, and then the passport had a Velcro, and it would go on to the big board at the scene. And so every single person on that scene was tracked by these little plastic tags.
I have security from the Elkhart Clinic on the phone. They're advising that if you need it, they can open the doors to the Elkhart Clinic to give you extra space for rehab.
Clear. Thank you. I'll check. Get back with you.
10-4.
Medic 24, command.
24-5.
Elkhart Clinic is offering their office for rehab if we need it.
Clear. I think we're doing okay right at the moment.
Thank you.
Squad 2 pump. Fossils on scene.
Elkhart 105.
105.
1791 will be on scene, Elkhart City.
Right now, Medic 24 advises we're good on rehab.
10-4, thank you. 1791.
Squad 2. Get with the outflow right there. Have them staged for now. It's coming in this dock area south. That's the way where we're making our way to.
Okay.
Operation. Truck 18 operation. Over truck 18. Are you guys able to reach the hole that Cleveland was just in? I'm going to have to redirect their line up top to the right. Are you able to aim towards that hole? Pump 18, did you hear direct? Repeat traffic. Are you able to hit the hole Cleveland was just spraying into?
All right, it looks like the local news is live up there, so...
Yeah, there's no fire in that hole currently, but we can hit it. Roger.
Of course, there's the traditional ads you have to watch.
Pump 18 operation. I was watching on the back side of the ticket. You were just bouncing all your water off the back of the roof.
It sounds like a surround and drowned.
Magnetic 21, be advised we are leaving the scene with one personnel.
Thank you, 21.
We used to, at a certain point, you would announce that
Medic
this is going
21,
to be
we'll
a
be
surround and
advised.
drown. Pull everybody
Medic
out,
21.
spray water on it so it looks like you're doing something.
Truck 18 operations. What's your location?
Squad, Pump 2, Squad 2.
Right in front of truck 18.
Pump 2, go ahead.
Can you come over here to the staging area in the pool house?
Damn it. All right, I'm going to be straight with you guys. I had big plans. I had big plans for this weekend, and they all just fell through. And so I'm a little distraught right now. I'm pretty upset. I'm now going to sit here all weekend and do nothing again, and nobody to go do anything with. And so I'm just a little bit depressed tonight. So I appreciate you guys being here. I don't mean to make you that way, so we're not going to talk about it much.
I did not.
But yeah, kind of sucks, really.
10-4, thank you.
Basically, but things fall through, you know, and unfortunately for me, that's the way it works quite often.
Alarm is silenced, ready for the reset.
Nobody wants to just like hang out anymore, you know. I'm too old to date, you know what I mean? I'm too old to go and hang out.
Water flowing here at all, and it may be having something to do with that. Fire out on Lexington and the water pressures in the city.
System reset in progress.
Hey Aquarius, what's up? I've got a few of you guys tonight. I'm going to make moderators. That's the good news. Thank you for the work you guys have been doing over on there to populate my to help populate my Discord channel. It's going good over there. And I do appreciate that. Brandon, I just made you a moderator. I really appreciate what you've done.
All right, I can confirm that in here as
and
well.
I'm going to ask you guys, since there's not a lot of us in here, I'm making you guys a moderator, but you know I have a free speech chat room, so unless they're spamming or using horrible racial slurs or threatening death on somebody or using those bad words we're not allowed to use, drug words and stuff like that. That's all I care about. I don't care if they like Trump or Biden. I really don't care. So all I want policed in there is just spamming, basically, and hate. And I really, even the hate, I wanted, we'll deal with it first and see if we can get them to just chill out with the hate, because I don't want to lose anybody. I don't want to kick anybody out, because I do truly run a free speech chat room. So anyway. And also, let's see here. And Aquarius, I made you one too. I got a few others that when they come up, we'll deal with that.
You go rehab, please.
But no, I do. I really appreciate people that come in a lot, and so to show my appreciation, that's how I do it. I do appreciate it, and
go ahead.
I've got a number of people that come in. You know, my numbers have been pretty bad lately, but I think it's just because it's a news cycle. I'm used to ham radio stuff where it's slow and steady. Over here, doing this kind of stuff, it's more ebb and flow. And I've had nights doing exactly what I'm doing now, where I had 140,000 views, and was doing wonderful. I have had other nights where I have 150 views, and that's it. So it's an ebb and a flow, and you just have to keep it going and keep it going. Hey, Barnaby, and who else was there? Oh, PHX, thank you, and Charles, thank you guys for being here tonight. I appreciate it. And we do have a Discord server now. I'm trying to we're trying to populate it over there. We are going to be doing news and stuff over there too. It's not just going to be people arguing. I don't mind if we have Discord on Discord. I don't mind. But the main reason that we're doing it is just to get people talking and to get more interest in what we're doing. Anyway, there it is. There's the Discord channel.
Cleveland told me that there's a spot they're not able to get over by them.
Well, thank you, PHX. I really appreciate that. I hope that I hope I'm doing something right here. It's been a rough month for me. I'm in the process of buying a car. I have I've had a lot of big changes in my life recently, and it has not been easy the last month. And I'm trying to add, make sure I get on this broadcast at least 6 nights a week after my 3-hour commercial broadcast that I do with the local radio station that I work at. So it's a bit of a schedule for me. Most days I don't have to get up early. That's the good thing. Most days I can just get up, at 4, anywhere between 4 in the morning and 10 in the morning, depending on when I feel like getting up. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. All right. And we're going to be doing it every night. Up on the grid tonight, upper left, he has a bunch of different shots there from different civil unrest that's going on. It's not even that, it's protesting. When I start seeing people in the masks, I start to wonder what's going on, because that's what the anarchists wear. They start covering up their face a lot. Then again, it could also be religious garb too. You just never know. And then the next one there, looks like we're flying right over the boot of Italy right now in the International Space Station. And then the next one after that is Times Square. There was not a lot to get tonight, so I got what I could get. And then upper right, that's our SoCal guy in Southern California. He goes out to all the different things that are going on. And this is some little protest that's going on. So we're kind of watching that. And then the middle on the right, he was on the way to a protest. I don't know what's going on. I'm not sure. I'm going to find out, though. I think he might be a storm chaser the more I think about it. But hey, who knows? We're going to watch and see what the hell he does. He's rooting for Team P. That's all I know. All right. So like I said, we're going to keep this up for a while tonight and see how it goes.
That's correct.
Yeah, I'm staying busy. That's what you got to do. That's what you got to do.
Home base team, hit the fire.
What do? You just got to keep on going, no matter if life deals you lemons, you make lemonade.
Let's go ahead and get them dispatched out here.
And that's basically where I'm at right now.
Coming, or would you like a platform from Oslo?
All right. Oh, let's see here. Let's do a quick news check. Another mid-air near collision, Southwest flight this time. I got to tell you guys, we're having some issues right now with the air traffic control system. And before anybody says anything, every administration is to blame. Okay, there's no sense in blaming Democrats and Republicans. This shit has been neglected for a very long time. Okay, and so that's basically that. I don't think we can. I don't think we can really blame any single party for it. Here's the problem. Here's what you run into. When you are doing air traffic control, the training curve is immense. And a lot of people don't realize this. If you want to be a cop or a fireman or whatever, there's a training curve. You have to go to school. You have to go to the academy. You have to learn how to do it. It's the same thing with a dispatcher. I know that if you sit down as a fresh dispatcher that just got hired at, say, Lee Control here in town, or at the Sheriff's Department dispatch, both great dispatch centers here in town. If you walked in there and applied for a job and they hired you, you would sit down on your first day and you would watch. And you would watch for a week. And then you would start doing things slowly, taking calls and working calls and putting in 911 calls. And then eventually, after 4 or 5 months of working with someone, putting in calls, they'll finally get you up on a radio and you'll start working the radio and start answering the deputies and, you know, acknowledging where they're at and logging what they're doing. And eventually, after about 6 months or 8 months, you'll be released on your own as a dispatcher for the first time, and you'll be able to sit there by yourself. That's just a police dispatcher. Now, if you're going to be a deputy, there's a year's worth of training before you're ever out arresting people on your own. There's at least a year's worth of training, and in my opinion, it's not enough. They don't do near enough constitutional training and stuff like that. They do a lot of safety training. There's a lot of really good training that goes on in the academy. But the academy is 660 hours, I think, now or something. And then you have to add another 600 or 800 hours of field training on top of that. By the time an officer comes out, that officer has cost that department several $100,000 between pay and the cost of schooling and the cost of uniforms and training gear and all that. And it takes a year before that cop can go out and make his first arrest. And you think that's bad. Firefighters are the same way. A boot or a rookie firefighter, you'll be the hydrant man for the first 2 frickin' years, dude. Are you kidding me? You'll slowly work your way up, and maybe in 10 years you'll get to drive the truck. I mean, it just takes a while to do this stuff. The training curve on this stuff is immense. You have to do it for a long time to get good at it. And I'm bringing up things I know because I was a cop, I was a fireman, I know these things. And there's every one of these jobs. Well, let's get to air traffic controller, okay? Air traffic controllers have more training than cops and firemen combined. They have to work with a training officer for over a year, sometimes 2, before they're actually cut loose on their own. And the whole time that means that there's another air traffic controller that has to sit there with them. So you're not gaining a person until after that person's training is over. And they're just getting in the way until then. And then eventually, after a year and a half, their training will get over and they'll become a rookie. And now we've got a rookie on the line that's out there screwing things up and running planes into each other. So, I mean, the training curve is terrible. And before you get a seasoned person that's been there 5 years, you will have spent $1 million on training and all the time that's spent by both the trainer and the trainee and all the different trainings they go to and the classes they go to. And then what if we get them in there and they realize they don't want to do it? We get them all the way through this training, we get them to the end, and they decide, you know what, this is not for me. This shit is no good. And this happens a lot. 2 out of 3 people that start to train to be an air traffic controller never actually control an airfield for the first time. And so that's a shit statistic right there. That means that 2 out of 3 people they start training never finish the training. That's terrible. And the reason is because the training is long, it's grueling, and the job is not easy. And if you make a mistake, people die. It's a very difficult job. They do get paid fairly well, probably could get paid better even, because we got to keep these guys. We get an air traffic controller in there. We got to do whatever it takes to keep these guys. Another thing is, they can't work fatigued. You cannot, they're working these guys 12 and 14 hours up in one of those little rooms up there with the windows. And I'm telling you, that's bad. It's bad to work these guys longer than 8 hours. They're like truckers. What? We won't let somebody drive a big rig for more than 12 hours on the highway. He has to park it for 12 hours after he's drove his 12 hours, right? For his logbook, right? And the pilots, they can't even be a pilot once they're over a certain age. They can't fly if they've been flying too many hours and all that. But the air traffic controllers, a lot of times they end up working long hours up there, and their fatigue is just as dangerous as anybody else's. And so I feel bad for the system because it's not in good shape right now. And it's not just here, it's everywhere. Whether you go to France or England, or whether you go to South America, to Brazil, or whether you go all the way over to the Middle East, you're going to find that there's air traffic control shortages in nearly every major airport in the freaking world. This is not a localized problem. And every day the training they need goes up, and every day the equipment they're using gets older. And the equipment they're using is antiquated at this point, literally antiquated, okay? They're using 20-year-old systems. Could you imagine if we had brand new systems with today's technology? I mean, we wouldn't have these near misses. We keep getting these near misses. This is not funny. I mean, we had the one in D.C. a while back where the chopper hit the plane and killed a bunch of people. We've got to prevent this. And it's not that it's this person's fault or that person's fault. It's that the system is broken. The system has not kept up with demand. And the training curve is so big that we are now behind the 8 ball by about 1,500 air traffic controllers right now. This is crazy numbers. We're never going to be getting these guys back. And yeah, that's another thing. Air traffic controllers, they age out. They get disability at a certain point where they can't work anymore. There's reasons why they quit early on the other end too. Not to mention people just not liking the job once they get in there. Like I said, I did say 2 out of 3 people that enter the training never finish it. Of the people that finish the training, only about 20% of them will actually finish a 20-year career, because it is a very difficult job. Okay?
105 firefight.
Yeah. So you really just need... Yeah, Victor, I've heard about that. There is actually air traffic controller simulators out there. And they're very difficult. It is difficult to keep track of all these planes. Someone like me is not set up to do it. I don't have a good enough memory. When I dispatched years ago at the Sheriff's Department when I was very young, I was 17, 18 years old. I was dispatching for the Sheriff's Department. It was difficult for me to remember the location of 6 or 8 cops that I had on my channel, 10 cops. That was difficult for me. I couldn't do it. I would lose it, and they would make us memorize where they're at. Like if he'd be one guy's on a traffic stop at 5th and Ford. Another guy is this guy here. He's on a 21 that was in progress currently at Weaver's Corner. And this guy here, you have to know this in case the computer goes down. Where are your guys at? You have to know. And that was a very difficult job for me. And I literally. I wasn't going to be a dispatcher anyway, but I wanted to do it because it's what I could do at my age at that time. I just went and became a firefighter. I wanted to be a cop, but as time went on, I really aligned myself more with the firefighters. I was really more into helping folks than tracking folks down and creating issues for them. Even though most of the time they caused it themselves. I'm not trying to say that. But I aligned much more with the firefighters. I wanted to go and just be as helpful and as I could, because I wasn't the busting heads kind, I guess. Did it buff out? You crashed at Page Field, Root Man? That's interesting. Yeah, I know. I know Page Field well. Page Field actually was an aviation training ground during World War II. And to this day, all of the fire hydrants in the city of Fort Myers have pipe thread because they are all military thread, where all the other hydrants in the county have National Fire Standard thread. So if all the trucks in our county have a set of adapters on them so that we can hook to the city fire plugs and the city can hook to the county fire plugs. And they do that because originally the first fire plugs in Fort Myers were military because they were around Page Field. Page Field being a military base. They gave it up not long after the war, and it became a general aviation airport. Actually, I lied. It didn't. It became that later. It became our airport for a while. They were landing 727s on that runway. I can't believe they ever landed anything that big there. By today's standards, I don't think we would do that. Okay, yeah, Buckingham. Our Sheriff's Department flies out of Buckingham. Another training field. A place where our local club does a 3-day operating event to honor the people who trained and the lives that were lost through the Buckingham training field out there during World War II. And that is an operating event on ham radio that's done by the local club, the Fort Myers Amateur Radio Club.
What's your pressure now?
I'd like to be involved with it, but they have it during the week when I'm at work, and I can't do anything about that. So, yeah, Page Field, they're always working on the runway, and they got this big blinking X that they put on the runway so people won't try to land while they're working on it. It's pretty funny. I think it's 119 megahertz, and they when you're coming in, you just have to turn on your blinking lights, and you just have to make sure you announce that you're going to be landing and which direction you're landing, because there is no tower there that's active.
We maybe get somebody on Cleveland's tip to see where they're aiming that ladder at. It looks like they're too high at this point.
Honda Road, okay, when commercial aircraft landed in Punta Gorda. Well, Punta Gorda, right now, commercial aircraft are landing there again. Allegiant is flying out of Punta Gorda Airport now. They actually have customs there, I think, a small capacity, and you can actually get quite a number of different flights out of there now. None of the big carriers are in there, like, you know, Delta or anything, but I know Allegiant flies a number of flights out of Punta Gorda, if that's what you're talking about. There is a tower at Page. It is generally not manned. Yeah, there's a tower at Page because it used to be a regular airport. It used to be a regular regional airport where we would get regional flights coming in and out. Yeah, but yeah, Page. There. I believe the tower is still out there, but it's not manned. You just have to announce that you're landing on 119 megahertz on AM, and then you just come on in and hope for the best. No, I actually have several buddies that fly for the sheriff's department, and they talk a lot about that over there. The Page Field. If you pull up the flight tracker, Page Field, they'll be out there doing touch and goes all night long, out there all day long. I mean, not night, daytime. They'll be out there, and you'll see them come in and go around, and come in and go around, and the altitude will go down to the white, and then come back up and again to the yellow, and you can tell they're doing touch and goes out there. It's great for that. The only bad thing about it is you literally buzz the traffic on US 41 when you're coming in for a landing. The end of the runway is about 20 feet from the right lane going northbound on US 41 on the Tamiami Trail. And so, yeah, it's a little interesting there because it's right there. Sometimes those planes will come over those warehouses across the street and fly across over the road and land on Page Field, and it's like, wow, that was pretty cool. They caught 100 NFL players scalping Super Bowl tickets. They're all facing harsh penalties. But they won't take them away from playing. I guarantee you that, because that's where they make their money. They'll make them play, and they'll just find the players. Yep, WWE paid their final respects tonight to Hulk Hogan. I guess they had some kind of event there. I might go back and watch a few minutes of that.
1791 is on the scene with the city.
1791.
Oh, God, another brain-eating amoeba. You know, this is something, if you guys don't know about this, this is something that's scary, and it's down here in Florida. It's something that grows in our warm waters, warm, fresh pond water. And another child has died. The fatal infection was linked to possible exposure to this amoeba. This one was in South Carolina, but this is very common down here. Do you guys remember Disney had water parks, and then they didn't have water parks, and then they had water parks again? If you guys, anybody that's followed Disney over the years, you know that they had two water parks and they closed them down.
1791 is here. They're going to lay approximately 600 feet of 5-inch off of them. We're going to have to relay pump off the nearest hydrant to do that.
Boy, they are relay pumping from hydrant to hydrant. It's a mess out there. So anyway, Disney's River Country was the first water park at the Walt Disney World Resort in Orlando, Florida. River Country, located along the shores of Bay Lake near Disney's Fort Wilderness, resort and campground was themed as a rustic old-fashioned swimming hole. Opened in June 20th, 1976. A lot of people don't remember that Disney had a water park in the 70s and 80s, and that's because it closed to little fanfare and then was replaced years later by different styled water parks. It opened in 76. The park closed indefinitely on November 2nd, 2001. On January 20th, 2005, after roughly 3 years of closure, the Walt Disney Company announced that the park would remain closed permanently. It was the first Disney park to ever close and not reopen. In 1989, Disney opened their second theme park, which was Typhoon Lagoon. I remember that one too. It had more parking, more slides and amenities, and was significantly larger. They opened the third theme park called Blizzard Beach in 95. The difference is the lagoon and the beach both used pool water. The Typhoon Lagoon used filtered pond water, and they would filter the water and then run it down through the park, and it would run back into the pond again. That's fine, except it gets really hot down here and funky shit grows in the water. And that's a scientific term, funky shit. You can look it up. Yep. Anyway, the reason Disney closed that park is, and it's not even really widely written about, but you can certainly go find it. The reason they closed that park, that original park, was because a child had contracted this amoeba. It goes up your nose, and it basically goes into your brain and starts eating your brain. And they have no way of killing it. They have no way of finding it or getting it out. So you basically live a horrible life until you die. And it's one of those kind of horrible diseases. They have successfully eradicated it in a few people, but for the most part, it's fatal. And it happens down here in Florida. And so they recommend down here in Florida that you do not swim in brackish or fresh water in Florida. And that's something, most people think Florida's all about the water. Yeah, it is. But you got to be careful down here. The salt water is a lot safer. You can swim in the salt water and you're probably going to be okay. There's a few little things you can get here and there, but they're pretty minor. But if you get a bunch of that pond water up your nose, like you're diving down in the water and you get a bunch of that pond water up in your nose a bunch of times, if you pick up an amoeba, you die. For some reason, it seems to like children. Apparently, they're more susceptible to it. The last time I flew, Victor, I haven't flown since 9/11. I know. I only know that because I've never dealt with any of the new rules. I used to fly. When I was at the fire department, they would fly me here and there for stuff. I flew probably 6 or 8 times. I've flown in a very small 4-seater a couple times up and down the state of Florida. I flew in a Ford Trimotor, which was an amazing aircraft. They were here in town, and I was sent as a member of the media from my work. Because nobody else wanted to do it. And I'm like, I will fly in that thing, let's go. And I went down to Naples, and it's a Ford Trimotor, has 3 Ford piston engines on it. And we got into this bucket and took off, and we flew way out over the Gulf of America and came back. It was so awesome. Got to see Naples proper and everything. So that's cool. I've done some neat stuff, but I'm not a big flying traveler. I've never really been partial to flying and traveling like that. I would rather drive. If we're going out west, I'd rather take the 3 weeks and drive out and drive back, because you get to see everything that way. When you fly, you see nothing. Yeah, you look out the window, it looks cool, but you really see nothing. in order to see America, you got to drive America. You got to get off at a couple of exits. You got to drive around and look at stuff. You got to find things to see. In the old days, we would have gotten a trip tick from AAA, and it would have had all the neat things to see along the way. You still have that in your phone. You just have to effort to make sure you have the information, and you want to find things to see on the way. I think the journey, I honestly believe that sometimes the journey is more important than the destination. I really do. I feel that sometimes it's all about how you got there, It's all about what you did to get there, and it's about the things you saw on the way. And then by the time you get there, it's like, oh yeah, I'm here now, but it's kind of a letdown. It was the trip out here that was so much fun. And that's the way I feel a lot of times. That is truly the way I feel a lot of times, is that I have just as much fun on the trip. Like, we're getting ready to go up to my cabin in October. We're going to be stopping by Stone Mountain, Georgia. I'm going to be doing a live broadcast from Stone Mountain, Georgia, believe it or not. If you guys are not familiar with Stone Mountain, Georgia, it is really, really, really a cool place. And I'm going to be actually going live from up on top of this huge mountain. It's like a big rock that was shoved up through the earth. And I'm going to be actually up there. And this will be... my family has been going there since I was a kid. We've probably been there 4 or 5 times. I actually rode out a hurricane there in that campground, and that's an interesting story for another day. But yeah, Stone Mountain, Georgia, is a really cool. I'm trying to find it here. Where the hell is it at? Oh, there it is. Okay, I'm gonna bring you guys in here so you can see this. This is Stone Mountain, Georgia, and you can see there that it's this big, huge mountain. It's near Atlanta. I'll show you here where you're at. Look, you're not that far from Atlanta.
Can you shut down one of the deck guns?
That's Atlanta right to the right there. And Stone Mountain is, see, there's Atlanta. Stone Mountain is right here to the right of Atlanta. And we zoom in and look at this thing. There's a building up on top. You have to take a cable car to get up there. And what a really cool place. Let's take you guys in on a little virtual tour here.
105 Elkhart on
Look at this.
110 minutes in.
Isn't that amazing? Look at the antenna. They got all kinds of antennas up there. You can see Atlanta proper from up there. It's really cool. They've got it all fenced off, but they've got a lot of it up there. There's a huge area that you're actually allowed to be at.
We have 3 ladder trucks flowing water, Oslo, Cleveland, Truck 18.
You can see kind of where they got the fence. There's the cable car where it comes up.
Fire inside with heavy smoke inside.
10-4.
And you literally get the cable car down here in the valley, and the cable car brings you right up to here.
Medic 22.
Look at that view. So I can't wait to get up here and see it again. It's been so long since I've seen it. You can see where the fence is. You see the kind of the line right there. You can see where the fence is, and you can actually walk up. There's 2 different trails that you can walk up, and
we're opening back up the ground monitor on the.
That's what it looks like from when you're walking up to the summit, up the trail. This is the trail over here coming up this way. Isn't that amazing? And guess what? Look at that. That's Atlanta proper. That's the Atlanta Metro. Isn't that cool? I love this place. Well, Barnaby, that thing I told you about the amoeba, that amoeba does not live in chlorinated water. As long as you're in salt water, like a saltwater pool or saltwater ocean or Gulf, or if you're in chlorinated pool water, you're fine. The one thing that all of these people that have died with this bullshit, the one commonality that they have is the fact that it was always in pond water. It was never in salt water, and it was never in pool water. It's only in pond water. So as long as you're not swimming in pond water and you're in chlorinated water, the amoeba thing cannot get you. It just can't.
6C, go ahead, turn on the hydrant.
I'm just being straight up. It can't get you. It just can't get you. So don't let me scare you there. I mean, it's, it is what it is. That amoeba thing, it's also, you're more likely to get struck by lightning after getting a hole-in-one. It only happens like once every 5 years in the whole southeast United States. It's a very uncommon thing. But when it happens, it has great consequences, like shutting down water parks and things like that. So I think that's why possibly it's been kind of a big deal. But anyway, I will be going to Stone Mountain, and I will be doing a live from up there, and I'll be scheduling and all that with you guys. And I'm going to be doing a bunch of stuff from up there, and then I'm going to spend a week at the cabin where I'm going to try to come on and do something similar to this in the evenings. We're going to see how it goes. The bandwidth up there is very different. There's very little bandwidth. I may or may not be able to do the multi-screen and all that. I may just be able to do the radars and just have, come on and do a show for an hour or so each night. But we'll figure it out. We'll get it all figured out.
Water's ready.
I got to take my vacation. I know that. I got to get the hell up out of Dodge.
Test your water.
Oh. Wish I had something to do this weekend. I need to find somebody that wants to go storm chasing and wants to do broadcasting and wants to get involved with all that stuff, but I need to find somebody that lives here. Disney Cool Air Mister stations are pathogen fountains. I can't argue with you on that. That whole thing's kind of, yeah. I don't know. We've got a lot of that down here. I'm sorry about that. We have a lot of that down here. Our flea market here. We got a great flea market, huge flea market, freaking huge flea market. All right. They've got about 400 of those fans, and they've got little hoses that run all the way around the whole place to feed those fans. And those fans blow mist out on everybody. And I always want to say, it's like that stupid ad they say on TV. This is the new cooler. It'll cool a room down in 2 minutes. And you look at it, it's nothing but a fan with a mister in it. And it's like, you're fooling yourself, you idiot. You're literally an idiot if you think that this makes the room any cooler. It absolutely, oh my God, this bug is driving me nuts in here. It literally will not cool the room down, maybe a degree at the most, because all you're doing is you're using water to absorb the heat and then bring it down to the ground, or evaporate it out, one or the other, but that really doesn't affect the overall temperature of a room that much. If you're right in front of this thing, it feels like it's blowing cool air out, but again, it's an illusion because we're aerosoling water, which is absorbing the heat from the air. So yeah, it feels a little bit cooler as it's coming out, but the heat's still right there. You didn't get rid of the heat. Energy cannot be created nor destroyed. I love when people say, no, it's an air conditioner, man. It has nothing to do with the heat. It has to do with the cool. And I was like, oh my God, dude. There's no such thing as cool. There's simply air that is an absence of heat. But it's not cool. That's a word people invented, cool. All right, it's either hot or it's not hot. And you got to think about heat that way. You can't think of it as, oh, you're letting the cold air in. No. what you're doing is you're letting the thermal energy out. It's like, I know people that I go to their house, they got a fan sitting in the middle of the living room, blowing across the living room at the other part of the living room. Oh, what's the fan for? Oh, it makes it cooler in here. No, it doesn't. It's simply blowing around hot air. You can feel a few degrees cooler by using the, the old blowing wind makes the air feel a little cooler thing. But it's still an illusion. Doesn't really do much. Now, had you put that fan in the window blowing in and went over there and put the other fan in the window blowing out, now you would be moving volumes of air through the house, cooling it, allowing the air to actually get cooler because you're moving air from inside to outside and vice versa. So I mean, this is the thing. It's like, if you don't think of heat in terms of energy, you're probably doing the wrong things to dissipate it. You have to remove it. The only way to remove heat is to remove it outside. That's what your air conditioner does. You ever wonder why the piece inside puts out cold air and the piece outside puts out hot air? It's because it compresses the air outside. When it compresses it, it takes the warmth out of the Freon. When you compress air, the bottle you're compressing will get warm. What that does is it takes the heat energy out of the Freon. Then that Freon is piped back inside again, where it goes through a chiller. In that chiller unit, the Freon is allowed to expand again. And now this very cold Freon that we just removed all the heat from is allowed to expand in these coils. And as it expands in these coils, it sucks in every bit of heat energy that it comes in contact with. And then it is pushed out the other end and brought back outside the structure again, where the heat is then compressed back out of the Freon on the outside. So the heat is picked up on the inside, carried outside, and dropped. That's what an air conditioner does. It does not make cold air. It simply takes thermal energy and moves it to the other side of a wall. That's all it does.
Go ahead with your traffic. You're breaking up real bad. We are ready for one. 1791, we're clear, we're working on it.
Yeah, 7 to 8 per billion swimming events. I was saying a couple of every 5 years in the entire southeast of the U.S. We're both right. It's a very rare occurrence, and if someone survived that, you're a very lucky person because they don't really have a good treatment for it. But I will tell you, I am not aware of anyone getting that brain-eating amoeba thing from chlorinated water or from salt water. It's a freshwater phenomenon, which is the good news because, honestly, in Florida, when you think of Florida, you think, man, there's water everywhere. But, yeah, there's no water anywhere that's clean enough for you to drink. I don't care if you're a homeless guy walking down the road. You cannot walk off in the woods and drink out of a pond. You cannot drink out of the ditch. You cannot drink out of even a lot of the water wells. You can't just drink off the water table here, okay? It's nasty. Our water here is disgusting in Florida. People don't realize it, all right? Yeah, it's not so bad down at the beach and the salt water enough, but you look at our river here, the Caloosahatchee River, the Peace River, the Manatee River, all these big rivers, they're all disgusting. They're full of tannic acid. They're very dark. The water's very dark. And they're full of all kinds of crap and everything else. When I go to Georgia, up at my cabin, when it rains, there's a ditch that runs right by my house down in the crevice of the mountain, where the mountain comes into the other mountain. It runs right there. I can walk right over and scoop that up with a glass and drink it. I can go down to the thing down there and drink out of that. I can stop on the side of the road and pull it right out of Lake Notley and drink it. You can't do that in Florida. It's dangerous. There is bacteria. There's all kinds of shit in the water down here. And it's because we're in a tropical area. And everything just sits out in the sun and cooks all day long. And it gets all nasty. Have a sip from the Disney Canal.
Square 7.
Truck 18, pump 18.
Shut down. It's shut down from engine 6.
10-4.
Let's see here.
Point 7. Not to be
Yeah,
confused
I'll
with
tell you
engine
what.
7
If that
is
Barnaby, if that is a
service
bad
for
thing
all
to happen,
station
I'm sorry
downtown
about that too,
Central.
because that was a bad. I'm glad you
10-4,
survived. I'm
thank
glad
you.
you're with us. All right, let's see. I'm going to be taking topics. We are at 50 minutes. I'm not doing a long broadcast tonight. I may do something tomorrow. I had a big plan this weekend. Had big plans this weekend. It all fell through at the last minute, and so I'm literally sitting here on ready, packed, ready to go do something this weekend, and I have nothing to do now. So I'm kind of aggravated, but it is what it is. I'm going to try to make the best of it. I'm going to try to find something to do this weekend. I don't know. Somebody to do something with this weekend. I'll find something. I wish none of you guys lived down here, man. It would be nice if just like one of you guys lived down here. Go hang out. Anyway, let's see here. Let me check space weather. We do have a CME coming in. They don't think it's going to be that big a one, but we do have a CME coming in. It launched it, the sun launched it towards Earth on July 23rd, and it was propelled by an erupting filament of magnetism near the disk center. Although it is faint, the CME could still cause a G1 class geomagnetic storm when it arrives tomorrow on the 27th, which will be 2 days from now. So it's still a couple days out. But there is still a chance there that we could be looking at some minor geomagnetic storms coming up before too long, in a couple days at night there. All right, let's continue to look through here.
That would be located where?
Let's look at the seismic report. Not a lot. That swarm that we've been watching up in Alaska is calming down. There's just not as much going on as there was before. If you guys remember, we've been watching this cluster here for about 5 days now, and it's just we're just not getting anything else. I think this one's starting to quiet down. Whatever was causing this, I think, is probably not a big deal, I guess. Whatever it is, it's quieting down. That's all that really matters there. But you can see there, there's a couple of those pinkish ones. Those were yesterday. There's nothing today. And that's why I'm saying there's probably a pretty good chance that this thing is over with. I'm thinking. What I'm thinking. Anyway, we'll see about that. Anyway, this is Starship Adventures. We are live at Starship Studios in Southwest Florida, and we're watching for news and happenings all around the Earth. This is the sights and sounds of Earth on Starship Adventures. And we are going to be on for a little while longer. Everybody's moving to Florida. It's kind of the thing right now. Yeah, I don't know where Ed is. I'll go find him in a minute. I'll go get Ed. I got plenty of cats. That's not a problem. All right. Let's see here. Let me get back to the grid. There we go. Still got everything going on. Let me just check Radar Omega real quick. I'm going to restart it because it's not showing any alerts. Sometimes when it doesn't show any alerts, it needs to be restarted. So let's try this.
Elkhart Squad 2.
Uh-huh.
Squad 2.
Don't tell me there's 0 alerts. Yeah, I didn't think so. We've got 18 alerts. We've got 8 severe thunderstorm warnings. Looks like North Dakota, and then mostly Canada. So here we go. Let's back out. The brown areas and this yellow area up here are where the National Weather Service believes that we're going to have problems tonight.
Oslo Tower operations. Are you guys able to come down and shoot up into the window?
They're still trying to get that fire out. Jesus. right here centered around Bismarck. This is where we're looking at possibly some severe weather tonight. And then there's a few other areas here, but nothing major. I don't see any storm chasers out tonight, so I think it's going to be kind of a quiet night here. I'll leave this set up here. I don't think we have any cameras in front of any of this, do we? Let's see here. Maybe, possibly.
Operation.
Well, it's something. I'll take it.
Give me a sit rep.
Give me a sit rep. I heard that on a movie. I wanted to use
Can you
it.
give me an update, please?
Give me a sit rep. I think that was on Rambo. We were talking about that cheesy old movie Delta Force. You remember that with what was his name?
Yes, we're waiting on
Walker, Texas Ranger, whatever.
Fully operating right now. We're just starting to get water.
It was a great movie back then, but it's dated very badly today.
As soon as we can get 2 steady water flows, I'd like to get the truck moved in. But for right now, we just need to keep water on this.
Yeah, I don't.
Clear,
that's
thank
all
you.
we got is those 2 cameras there, and that one's not even really in it yet.
Dispatch Jefferson, signal 76.
I don't see any down here. We got a few things down here. Let's see, what's this? It's coming in on this. I'll put that up as our 3rd one. There we go. All right, so we got some cameras up there.
Jefferson, signal 76 at 18886 Wilson Drive, 18,886 Wilson Drive, Jefferson Ridge Subdivision.
Wow.
Off Jefferson Ridge Drive, south of County Road 18.
Yeah, that's what we're watching here with this up here. This is all North Dakota, Bismarck up here.
Trouble breathing, chest pain.
It stretches from the bottom of the state line all the way up north of Minot, and it goes all the way. It's pretty much covering most of the state. Even the part it doesn't cover has got some pretty good thunderstorms right now. So that's pretty much affecting everybody there. Yeah, I've got Zoom. You know, I pay for Zoom because I need it for my clients and stuff. And I've been thinking. I used to do. I think I have seen a camper called Hurricane going down the road. I do believe I've seen that. I've got a Zoom account, and I've been thinking about one night just doing a Zoom with all of us or something, so we can all kind of meet each other in person or something. I also work on Zoom. Like if you want to work on a project, I love to Zoom with people. I Zoom, and then we can sit here and work on a project and share screen. And do all that kind of stuff. I just absolutely love to use Zoom for that purpose. It allows people to work in separate towns and still work together on a unique project, on the same project. I think that's so important. And so, I don't know if you guys realize it or not, but our radio station, which has over 100,000 listeners on my show, we use Zoom for our remote studio. When we have a guy come in from Peoria, we Zoom him, and the host and the guest look at each other on the Zoom, and then we just capture that. We use what they call musicians audio, which turns off all of the filtering and everything in Zoom, and we actually take it and use it just like that. And we take it right off that and put it right on the radio, and it is so clear people think they're in the studio. So it works really good. It works really good. So I love Zoom. And if anybody ever wants to get it on a Zoom and get a project going, I'm game for stuff like that. Just let me know.
91 Bucky, you ready to come down?
Full 1702 dispatch.
1702.
I'll call from up here. I just need to bang on the pressure so I can
Can you contact Cap County and see if they can, SEPSA can...
I did a few posts. I guess we can go through those real quick. I did a few posts I think that are worth noting. I did a post on SOTA. I know we talk about POTA a lot, Parks on the Air, POTA, but there's a thing called SOTA, S-O-T-A, which is Summits on the Air. And I think it's important for people to know that there's other ones out there, but also know that this one here is not near as friendly as POTA. I tried to get Buck Bald, which is a wonderful summit that you can actually drive to. And then you walk the last 50 feet or so. And this summit is very high. It's a wonderful summit. And I tried to qualify it, and they would not qualify that summit. And when I asked, why will you not qualify the summit? Oh, they gave me a bunch of bullshit numbers and this and that and the other thing. And you know what the bottom line was? You can drive to it. This is an exclusive club for the physically fit. And so that's what it is. It's literally, it's a club for the physically fit. So if you're not physically fit, if you're old, if you're in a wheelchair, if you're like me and you just have a bad back from being a firefighter, you can't do it, because they purposely only choose places that are a bitch to get to. And so because of that, SOTA has never really gotten that big. And I just want people to understand, unless you're physically fit and you're into climbing mountains and that kind of stuff, don't even bother with SOTA. It's an elitist group anyway. I don't usually even answer them. I just let them go because I'm not allowed to be in their club. Let's see. I also wrote an article this week, a consumer alert for Ham Radio Deluxe. I purchased the Ham Radio Deluxe software a couple years ago, and it never worked. It would not control my rigs. It would not log things to Logbook of the World, and it was an absolute piece of shit. And so every year, about once a year, maybe even more than that, I put out a consumer alert just to make sure people know, do not spend your money on Ham Radio Deluxe, HRD. It's a waste. You don't need it. Everything it does, other software will do better. This thing looks like it was written on Windows XP, and just don't. I wouldn't waste my time or my money with it. I can just tell you that right now.
I'm trying to get a position to where we can get them going into the windows, shooting up at the ceiling.
So anyway, I wanted to make it clear out there that not a good thing to do with Ham Radio Deluxe. I would stay away from Ham Radio Deluxe. And we talked about the CME. The other thing I wanted to talk about tonight, did you know that the Amateur Radio of Canada, okay, that's their amateur radio thing up there where they do the testing and all that kind of stuff. Did you know that they have got a brand new question pool coming out? Yeah, they just spent millions of hours sitting around these smoke-filled rooms trying to figure out how can we trick these people into not getting their licenses. The new question pool is 984 questions for the basic level. That's nuts. That's just stupid. You can practically smell the ink in the smoke-filled rooms from here, it says. And I believe that. These people, they sit around these rooms and they got to come up with these complicated processes. And the whole purpose of the process is to keep you from being able to do what they get to do. It's called gatekeeping. And I just can't stand gatekeeping. Yeah, I'm sure none of them actually smoke anymore. The whole smoke-filled room is something I just say. But you guys get the point, right? It's a bunch of old men in a room. Maybe it should be a depends-smelling room. Maybe we'll call it that. It just seems to me like our hobby is more of a hierarchy than a hobby. Everybody's in charge of somebody. There's a manager for everything. There's a coordinator for everything. There's a supervisor for everything. There's some guy that checks the guy that checks the guy that makes sure that the guy got checked. It just gets to the point where amateur radio gets to be a ridiculous mess. It really does. It just absolutely gets to become a ridiculous mess where all we seem to care about is the rules and the procedures and the policies and the protocols. It just gets so old after a while, and I don't want to do it anymore. And then I hear that instead of Canada working towards deregulation, which is what we need is all of this shit deregulated. Just allow people to use the spectrum. That's it. They're going to use it anyway if they want to. Just allow people to use it. It's so stupid. We need to get rid of this bullshit system where we publish the 300 questions and then we give you 30 of them and you've got to regurgitate the right answers to so many of those. What a stupid, stupid, stupid mess that we have here. Why do we do this to ourselves? What's the purpose for this? Oh, that's right. It's gatekeeping. Because they like to promote the exclusivity of the ham radio hobby. And it's that exclusivity that they're always wanting to get is the reason why we can't get anybody to do anything in ham radio. There is no exclusivity. Or I'm sorry, there's way too much exclusivity and not enough inclusivity, which is what we need. What we need to do is help people become hams. I love these people that say, like, we run a VE program because we want to help new hams get their license. And then they give them the test and let them walk back out in the parking lot without ever talking to them about anything, without ever doing anything. I've been proposing for years that the moment you license somebody, you should hand them a programmed Baofeng radio and a complete packet of information. You should email them immediately with an email with the 25 links they need to get all the programs they need, all the software they need. Quit making it such a goddamn mystery. Let's just publish the shit out. And let's give them what they need to become ham radio. I made, I think I still have it up here. I can show it to you. I still have a cheat sheet guide that I made. I wanted to make something so that when people came in, that there was something they could go off of, and basically it would be a 4-sided page-size pamphlet. It would basically have 4 full-size pages, and it would show them everything, tell them everything they need to know to get started in ham radio. And I think it is such an amazing thing. I'm going to see if I can find it here. I'm looking. Shit, I don't know if I've got it in here. You know what? I'll find it. Just give me a second here. It's worth it. And I'll even provide you guys with a copy of it tonight that you guys can download. It's some of it's not relevant to your area, but that's okay. Let me get over here. Start looking. Sanderson, Texas. Yeah, this is it here. A destructive tornado threat. East central Brewster County and southwestern Terrell County in southwestern Texas. I think that's the one we're talking about right there. Let me get the radar working here so we can see what this even looks like. Well, it's just a little small cell. But little small cells can do a lot of damage. All right, there you go. That's a hell of a cell. I mean, there's a few frames there where we're getting the light blue coloring, which is it's a pretty significant situation there. Okay. All right, so yeah, the whole they're pushing with the call signs and all that. It's so much bullshit. I've been going on nets here for a long time. I got on a net about about 6 weeks ago. No, you know what? It was the night of the riots that were going on in LA. And I had the riots going on, and while they were going on, I was over here on the radio net, and I'm talking, and some jerk comes on there and warns us not to talk about politics. He had just mentioned to me, hey, tell us what's going on with the protest out there. I said, okay, and this guy keys right over the top of everybody and says, reminder, we do not discuss politics on ham radio. And I'm like, what the freak? So I haven't been back on those repeaters in 6 weeks. I don't give a shit. And it may be 6 months before I go back over there. I hate having my speech policed. I'm sick of these old curmudgeons policing my speech. It pisses me off. All right, hold on. I'm reading through here. My God, there's a lot of these. Holy shit. I never imagined I had this many PDF files in here. Jesus. Oh my God. All right, well, let's do this. Star. Wow. Yeah, it's quick reference guide is what it is. I wrote one for the club here too that they still use. But I've also got one that I wrote too. Basically, what I wanted to do was I wanted to say, hey, look, okay, if I started in ham radio today, what would have helped me? What could I have had that would have helped me to get started? And that's basically where it came from. And I just started it with with basically a thought. And here I'll show you guys what I'm talking about. This is something that I put together for ham radio to help people to be able to make the most out of the hobby when they first get started. Okay, here's what it looks like. All right, I'm gonna switch over. This is what it looks like. Welcome to ham radio. This is my group, the Southwest Florida Amateur Radio Tech Team. Basically, it welcomes you to the hobby. It gives you some basic websites here in the upper right corner, and then we immediately start going into, there's your standard phonetic alphabet along with your Morse code as well, or your CW as we call it. Repeater basics over here, things you need to know about repeaters. Here's your common radio modes. Here's your standard CW and Q codes and radio codes. Here's your amateur radio bands right here. These are all your bands. And that's page 1. Here's page 2. Here's all my local repeaters and my local groups that are on the different repeaters. Here is the ARRI standard frequency list for Lee County. There is the nets, all the nets that go on in Lee and Charlotte and Collier counties. And then the next page, page 3, air lingo. This tells you all the different things that you might hear on the radio that you don't know what it means. And then we've got here a little bit about the Southwest Florida Tech Team, and we've got information here on the TechNet that we used to do. And then finally on the last page here, I don't know why that formatting's all messed up, but oh well. On the last page here, we've got the band allocation, and we also have 10 things you can do in ham radio right away. And then once you get going, here's a bunch more stuff you can do. And I made this thing, and I was printing these. I was paying the print them myself. And I was handing these to people when they took their test. And I got nothing but resistance from the curmudgeons. Nothing but resistance. And I got to tell you, it was really difficult for me to deal with that, because I never imagined in a million years that I would find a bunch of people that wanted to stifle the growth of ham radio. But that's exactly what we've got here. That's exactly what we've got here, is a bunch of people that literally want to gatekeep amateur radio. That's it. That's what they're doing. And so I don't know. Kind of just it pisses me off constantly. Whatever. I'm going to go ahead and make sure that's uploaded somewhere, and I'll give you guys a link to it. Just give me a second. Let me find I'll put this on the Discord as well. Sort by where in the hell did it go? I hate when it does this. God. Ugh. That's aggravating as shit. Well, that's all right. We'll just do it this way. New folder. Share on show folder. We'll just do it that way. All right. I'm going to copy the link and paste it in here. And I'm going to keep that link up for you guys. So if we need to drop files in there, I can. And I'm going to go ahead and drop in there this file here. If you guys want that quick reference guide, I understand that it's going to only be part of it will be relevant for you, because part of it's only relevant for this area. So I get that. I understand that. But anyway, I'll put that right there for you. And any other files that we talk about, I'll throw in there as well. Yes, that's why I love ham radio, because it's like a million hobbies in one. And if you don't like the people doing this, then go do that. You know, it's one of those kind of things. Yeah, I really do. I do like that. If you click on that link, it'll bring you to a Google folder that has one file in it, and that's it. I'm going to keep this link active, and I will put other things in there as time goes on that we want to share with you guys. go. All right, that's that. Okay, so very good. I will get rid of that. All right, let's check. Does anybody have anything else we want to talk about? Oh, well, thanks, Tony. I appreciate that. A lot of people in the hobby think that I'm just way too mean about everything, but I think the only way that you're going to fix a problem is to talk about it and to work through the problems and have mutual understandings. And so I'm not afraid to badmouth a little bit if I have to get it done. I'm no fan of the ARRL, I can tell you that right now. By the way, the numbers just came out. The president and CEO of the American Radio Relay League is going to make $357,000 this year, plus leave, plus benefits, plus expenses. That puts him as one of the top 5% of earners that are CEOs of nonprofit hobby type organizations like that. It's a travesty what's going on right now. How do they justify it? There is so many people at the ARL that are just making shit tons of money, and I mean hand over fist. They're making money so fast. You guys have no idea how. I mean, I don't even know what to tell you. The president's salary, $352,793 last year. That's more than the vice president of the United States makes. So the president of the ARRL makes more money than the vice president of the United States of America. And all they do is rubber stamp the same stupid talking points every year. The ARRL's president's compensation is roughly 44% higher than the national median for its category and ranks among the highest paid in the A34 radio-focused nonprofit category, second only to Chicago Public Media Incorporated. Compared to larger nonprofits, the ARRL CEO's pay approaches levels typically only in million-dollar scale charities, despite serving a much, much smaller organization. You know, their chief financial officer last year made $210,000 plus benefits. Their comptroller made $234,961 plus benefits. The assistant secretary made $218,952 plus benefits. The director of operations made $177,936 and made that in 1 year with full benefits. The sales manager of advertising made $176,140 last year plus benefits. The guy that manages IT, the guy that was managing Logbook of the World when it failed for months at a time, made $170,000 last year. What are we doing? What the F? I mean, seriously, this is supposed to be a nonprofit organization that's here for the betterment of a nonprofit hobby, and all I see is profit everywhere for just certain people. ARRL's executives rank among the top paid in their nonprofit peer group, despite ARRL being a mid-sized group with roughly only 100 staff members. They have about $14 million in annual expenses. So their CEO's compensation ranks in the top tier in the radio charity category. There's only one other charity group in this category that makes more money than him. It's just nuts, dude. It's nuts. Logbook of the World's a complete disaster. It's just antiquated. It fails. Their website is useless. It looks like it was built on Windows XP. I mean, come on. Yeah, Red, I've been doing a lot of file managing over the last couple years, but it's still a mess. I'm a digital hoarder, so I'm not a physical hoarder, though. That's the good thing. If you can keep that under control, the digital hoarder's not as bad. I did pay the ARRL $50 for the first year. I ended up with 6 magazines. I thought I was going to get 12, but I ended up with only 6. That's kind of a little trick they play. Those 6 magazines are still sitting up there. I don't think I've ever actually looked at them. I don't read magazines. Now they've canceled the magazine and they raised it $9. I can't believe someone would pay the ARRL $59 when we don't even know what they do. They say stuff like, we protect the bandwidth by lobbying. Really? Really? We're losing all kinds of bandwidth lately. I don't know who's protecting what, but I don't see it. Yep, I sent him $50, and I wish I could get it back. I wish I could get that money back. I'd burn it just to make a point. They don't deserve it. They talk about advocacy and lobbying. You know, I've been to so many ham fests and tailgates and swap shops and ham radio events and operating events, and I've never met anybody from the ARRL. Never. I hear they're at Huntsville. I hear that if you drive all the way to northern Alabama, you can actually meet somebody that actually has a pulse and works for the ARRL. They don't even come to the local shit around here. When I tried to join the ARRL and join my tech team, they wouldn't even call me back. They wouldn't even return my emails. They completely ignored me for 6 months. And I went through the process that you're supposed to go through. I started going through the process of all the things you had to do to join your club with their club, and it was ludicrous. It was busy work. It was ignorance. It was just, I couldn't believe the stupid shit that they had you do. It was literally busy work. And so yeah, we never joined them. And all of us that are involved in this on this end, we all left our ARRL memberships behind. We didn't want them anymore. I don't want anybody to know that I gave these crooks my money. I mean, when you look at the ARRL outdated technology, that ARRL logbook of the world is operating on like a Model 30 or something. They say they're actually going to move it to the cloud now. Wow, how 15 years ago. And high executive salaries. We just talked about that. My God, the executive salaries are ridiculous. Opaque decision making. The members don't actually get any part in any of it. It's a big hierarchy, and they don't ever really ask your opinion on anything. When's the last time you saw an ARRL survey asking questions? I can't even get the local club here to do surveys. Nobody wants to do surveys. You want to know why? Because no one really wants to know what everybody wants, because then they won't be able to do it the way they want to do it. Everybody hates surveys. Why? Because they're the people in charge and they don't want to know what you want. If they know what you want, then they're going to go against your wishes. And so what you find, whether it's our local club here, which the president of that club doesn't want to do surveys, all the way up to the ARRL, they don't want to do surveys. No one wants to do surveys. Surveys tell you exactly what people feel. And they're accurate, they're clean, they give you a clear example of what direction you need to move in, and that's the last thing that some asshole power-hungry prick in some hierarchy wants, is for people to have a say in what's going on. And so Basically, that's what you end up with. They have tone-deaf leadership. No matter how tall a mountain you stand on and yell, nobody will ever hear you. They won't return your calls. They don't respond to your emails. And you can pay $59 and not even get them to call to talk to you on the phone or anything. And they literally have a save the hobby mentality, and they're doing everything wrong. It's literally an exercise in futility. They have an inefficient spectrum defense. They've been unsuccessful with any of their lobbying, any spectrum. They're getting ready to auction a bunch more off. We just lost some. We're getting ready to lose some more on 70 centimeters. I mean, when you start looking at this, they're not doing anything to keep our bandwidth. We're lucky we have what we have. Youth engagement, this has been one of their weakest things for years. Every one of their damn pamphlets that comes out shows an old man teaching a boy how to use the radio. Every pamphlet, every pamphlet has a 90-year-old man teaching a 12-year-old Boy Scout how to use an HF radio at a picnic table in a bench. That is, every single one of their brochures has that on there, and yet those old pricks don't care nothing about getting youth involved in amateur radio. Nothing. They do zero outreach here. They do zero outreach anywhere that I'm familiar of. Oh, it's us, all right. Trust me, there's a lot of corruption in these groups. The same people become officers over and over and over again. You know, the local group here, every year, the board elects an election committee. The election committee picks the slate of officers for next year's board. And then that list is rubber stamped in at a meeting with a vote. There's never the first speech. There's never anybody talking about anybody. There's never a discussion of what we want to do next year. There's never a discussion of who's running, why are you running, what would you do different than the last guy, what would you do different than the guy before that. There's none of that. The board votes on a committee. The committee comes up with a slate for the next board. And then at the meeting, they literally go, the slate is President John, Vice President. This is a group with 300 and something members. This is not a small group. The President's John Smith, the Vice President's Rick Johnson, and we've got Bob and Bill and Jim and Jeff. That's the slate. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Nay. Okay, the vote passes. They don't even have an exact number. It just passes. It always just passes. From a show of hands, it passes. And then the next meeting, we've got a whole new slate of officers. I never picked any of those officers. I never had a chance to even get to meet any of those officers. I don't even know what any of them stand for or any of them want to do in the club. All they do, it's simply a way to keep the same 12 people in power. And I'm not a member of that club. They got a new president this time. He tells me they've changed the election process. We're going to see. We're going to see. I told him if the election process is changed and it becomes fair, I will rejoin. Because I do believe in being a part of a club and being a part of a hobby and being a part of a group and doing it right. But I will not be a part of corruption. I will not be a part of something where you're predetermining the elections. And that's exactly what it is, Steve. They're predetermining the future. That's exactly what it is. They want to run it themselves. And what you end up with is the guy that's the vice president this year is the secretary next year. He's the treasurer the following year. He's the president the following year. And every year he keeps voting these same 5 people back on the election committee. And those same 5 people keep voting him back on the slate. And then the slate is always approved. It's never not been approved. So whoever this election committee chooses is going to be the officers, that's who's going to be the officers. So they found a way that the officers get to pick the next officers. That's freaking illegal. It's illegal in a 501c3. It's illegal in a 501 period. Okay? You can't do that. The membership has to pick the officers. And if you don't have a clear election of the officers, you are breaking the law. It's not a law they generally show up and haul you off to jail to, but it is corruption. And it will eventually be dealt with if it keeps going on. We've got to stop this kind of thing. And the way to stop it is you have to beat corruption by changing the system to where the corruption no longer exists. And I'm hoping they're on the way right now to that, because this new president and I sat down and had a long conversation, and he told me he don't like the system either, and he's changing it, wait and see. And I told him I'm waiting and seeing because I will join back up if it's fixed. Because it's a good group. I like a lot of the folks in it. I got a lot of friends over there. But I'm not going to be a member of a group where I don't get to pick the officers. If you don't get to pick the officers, it's not your group. You get to pick who's president of the United States. You get to pick who's the governor of your state. You get to pick your senators and your congressmen. Hell, down here, I get to pick my hyacinth control district board, my mosquito control district board, and my fire control district board. Yes, we actually have a board of commissioners that mitigate water hyacinth. And we get taxed ad valorem for that. And they go out and drag this shit off of all of our ponds so that it doesn't choke off and kill all our fish. There's a government for everything. And so no matter what board you're on, no matter what board governs over you, you have a say in the people who are on that board, whether it's city council, whether the ward of the cities, whether it's county commissioners like we have here, whether it's your state congressman, your state house. You choose. You get to vote who is going to be your state agriculture commissioner and who's going to be your lieutenant governor. You get to make these choices. And these are very important choices. And then when it comes down to your nonprofit group, they're required as a nonprofit group to have the same election process that is fair, that allows you to choose who runs the group. Because you're giving your money to a group. You're adding your money to a general fund in a group, and then you get a say as to where your money gets spent and how it gets spent. And if they're playing reindeer games and preventing you from being able to affect a change on how your money is spent and be able to have some say in where your money is being spent, then that's bullshit. It's crap. You've taken my money and now I have no say on what you're doing with it. And so I took a major issue with this board, and I think they're actually fixing it this time around. Let's hope. Because you know what? We need groups that get back to fair operations. We need transparency and fair elections in every ham radio group out there. I've had some weird experiences with groups. There's a small group up in Tampa. I've worked with them. They're wonderful. Great bunch of guys. No drama. Everything's cool, but it's a small group. It's a small little niche group. I went up to an event up in the next county north of me. Went and sat for 35 minutes at a picnic table. No one ever came and spoke to me. Walked all around. People ignored me. I got in my car and I drove away. I don't think they realized who I was. I had already filled in as a net control on their nets. They've known me, but they didn't recognize me from visually or whatever, so nobody ever bothered to talk to me. You know, every ham event, you should assign an ambassador. I know it sounds stupid, but it's the number one thing they F up at these ham radio events. There should always be an ambassador, someone who is assigned the task of making everyone that walks up feel welcome, introduce yourself, find out who they want to speak to, what they want to do, what participation level they want to have, and then help them facilitate that. That person should be at every event. I don't care whether it's even if it's a meeting and someone shows up Hey, I've never been to a meeting before, but I want to come to the meeting. Well, cool. Let's walk over here. We've got a few minutes. Let me see if I can answer any questions for you. But you don't get that in ham radio. What you get is a bunch of old men that stick their nose up in the air and walk away. I don't know. It's not the most welcoming bunch, I can tell you. All right, I'm looking in the chat room. I've been on for about an hour and 39 minutes tonight. I'm looking in the chat room to see if there's anything you guys would like me to respond to. I'm finishing up right now my talk about the ARRL and the clubs in ham radio and how we're having such a hard time with corruption in the clubs in ham radio right now, and how they're all working hard, but they're missing the mark. And I think it's important that we get some of these groups and clubs back to where they're hitting the mark again. There is just, it just doesn't work out very well. The ARRL is supposed to provide support to local clubs, but even that support has waned recently. There's like, they make it very, very difficult for your club to get in. And then once your club gets in, there's really no benefit to your club being in there. You're listed on their website as a club. That's really the only benefit. And since their website's not SEO'd that well, you really don't ever see it in a Google search anyway. So I wouldn't bother. They have a declining relevance in Hamfest, the ARRL. At one time, they did a lot of the big Hamfests. They were very instrumental in the Hamfest. They had multiple booths. They did classes. They did teachings. They did all kinds of stuff. And every year, the amount of participation that the ARRL puts into Hamfest, both local, regional, state, they're less and less. And right now, you've got to go to an Orlando Hamfest or a Dayton or a Huntsville in order to find ARRL people. You generally don't see them at any of the other smaller Hamfests. You know, that is what, Tony, that's what needs to happen, is new groups need to come up. We're not going to fix this mess. What we need to do is just start new groups. I've started a little tech team here. There's not that many of us involved. In fact, there's not that many of us at all involved right now. I don't care. If I get 10 people interested, if I get myself interested, I don't care. I'm just going to, I don't fret over it. I'm just going to keep on moving down the tracks, and I have the group. When we decide to do stuff, we do it. Well, thank you, Barnaby. Yeah, I hope it will. I'll find something to do this weekend. Man, it's a shame none of you are down here in Florida, because I'd give you a tour of the town. Oh man, yeah. The young groups are important. The newer groups are important, and we need to start. We need to just keep getting the word out that we need to let the ARRL die. We need to let it die, and go ahead and start forming up groups. You know what I would, and rather than the ARRL, I know this sounds crazy, I would rather see a Florida group. I'd rather see a Florida group of ham radio, the Florida Ham Radio, you know, Florida Radio Relay League or whatever. I don't care what you call it. I'd like to see each state get their own. I'd like to, maybe a region gets their own. I think that we've just got, it's too big for one. Look what's happened. Look at the quagmire they've created for themselves. I don't know. I just don't know. I don't know if this is. I don't know if it's the right idea to have a complete, big, huge national thing like this, or is it better to have it? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if it's better to have something smaller. I don't know. I'm not sure what the answer is. I really don't know. All right, anyway, let's do a reset here. I'm going to be on for just a few more minutes here. If there's anything you would like me to talk about, please put it in the chat room. We are live in Southwest Florida. This is Starship Adventures, the sights and sounds of Earth, broadcasting live from Starship Studios in Southwest Florida. And we are live, as always, tonight in the balmy tropics down here. and boy, it is balmy. We didn't get a lot of rain today, so it's like 84 degrees outside right now with 100% humidity. It's wet, it's nasty, and by midnight, everything will be dripping on everything else, and that's pretty much the way it goes down here. Yeah, and let's see what else is going on here. Let's go back and check and see what we got on the grid. All right, we've got, looks like we've got NASA going over Italy again. And we've got Times Square. That mocha that you see there on the upper right, that's right down where all the protests have been going on. There was supposedly something going on down there. The guy got down there, and there really wasn't much going on. I saw a couple of mic stands and 2 people holding signs. I got to tell you that the protesting has been very, very mild across the country over the last 3 weeks. It's been peaceful, but not just peaceful, which is good. Okay, I'm all for peaceful protesting. It's been peaceful, but it's also been very small in nature. And that's why it's been peaceful. Anytime you get enough people involved, you're going to end up getting it turning into unrest, because you're going to get your anarchists there. All right. Yep, the 7200 is still up. OBS is running a lot cleaner than Streamlabs. I mean, to the point, I'm using Streamlabs right here for this one. Everything else I've converted over to OBS, and I just haven't quite had the balls to do it yet. But one night I'll be bitching because I'll be like, because I'm trying to do everything on a different program. But in the next few nights, I'm going to switch over this broadcast to OBS as well. I love Streamlabs. I think the interface for Streamlabs is cleaner. It's better. It's more simplex. But I will also tell you, it lacks a few features like left and right panning and things like that. And also, it's glitchy. And it runs for about 6 or 8 or 10 hours, and then it locks up. The OBS will run for days without locking up. Oh, well, thank you, Tony. I appreciate that. N7QJL. 7-3s to you as well. I'm going to be signing off here in just a few minutes. Yeah, I've got some doozies in there. Oh, boy. In ham radio, you're expected to never say anything negative, and I've come in and broke some shit. I got to tell you guys, I've come in and I broke some shit like a bull in a china shop, and I actually have people in ham radio that don't like me. Believe it or not, not that many, but I got some people in ham radio that shit talk me out there. They're like, this guy's, he's always negative. But you know what? I want you guys to notice when you go through and watch my videos. If you watch any of my ham radio videos especially, I want you to notice every time I tell you about a problem, I tell you what I would do to fix it. Every time. I had an old chief that taught my inspector school, a couple of the classes in my inspector school in '92 when I went to inspector school. And I had already been a firefighter. I was promoted to lieutenant, and I was up in inspector school learning how to be a fire marshal. And I had to, while I was up there, taking all these classes and everything, you get these like pieces of wisdom that get imparted on you. And then there was one of them there that was really good. And one of the things that he taught us, he says that you have to break an egg in order to make an omelet. And I've always held that close to my chest. I've always known that that's a true statement. You have to break an egg to make an omelet. If you want to fix something, you have to go in and you have to break it, and you have to remake it into what you want it to be made as. And that's basically what we're talking about here. Is we're talking about a system that's broke, and we're talking about people that are willing to put in the time and energy to fix it. So what has to be done? People have to be willing to speak the truth. And that's something most people at ham radio are not willing to do, is speak the truth. And so I'm true to form when it comes to that. I speak the truth. I come right out with it. But I always have a solution. I always have an answer to the problem. I may not be right every time. I'm no smarter than any of you guys. You know, I'm just an average guy, but I've been around. I've seen it work. I've ran fire departments. I've been a cop. I've done a lot of crazy things. I've worked private sector jobs, public sector jobs. I've waited around waiting for my paycheck, and I've cut paychecks. So, I mean, I've done a little bit of everything. And I'll tell you from, you know, with all the experience that I've had over all this time, you kind of start to understand what works and what doesn't work in the world. And that happens usually in your 50s. You start to really get a good feeling for what works and what doesn't work. And I've kind of brought that to ham radio, where it's not working, it's dysfunctional, and I know what I got to do to fix it. And I just like went balls nuts on it. I just couldn't help it. And that's true. And that's why I'm not a hater. And I'm not a negative Nelly or whatever you want to call me. What I am is someone who is sick of it. I'm not going to take it anymore. And I'm not going to talk nice about ham radio just because that's what you're supposed to do. Talk nice about ham radio. I don't do that. If I want to talk shit, I talk shit. But when I talk shit, I'm proving to you the shit. Like tonight, I talked shit about ARRL. I brought you the numbers. I brought you the numbers. I don't just come on and talk shit. I brought you the real numbers. You can go look them up, because it's important to have the truth in there. And so that's the way I look at it. And so I am going to bitch, but it's going to be true, and there'll be a solution. All right. So anyway, the ARRL has a big elections coming up. They're electing a bunch of new different officers and stuff. So if you're in the ARRL, if you're a member of the ARRL, God bless you. And so I'm sorry about your $59, but if you're a member of the ARRL, vote, run. This is how you're going to fix your organization. Do it. If you want real change, it starts with you. To make it go. We have to start demanding better. We have to step up, either run ourselves, vote, advocate, whatever we got to do to change this. I've given up on the ARRL. Maybe you haven't. Are all the people in the ARRL evil antichrists? No. Most of them are probably fine people, but we're confused as to what we're doing, and we're not doing it right, and that's the bottom line. My picture for my post, I actually had AI generate a picture of a bunch of old men wearing ties and shirts around a table with money scattered all over the floor. And I have been told that my pictures are ruthless. Now, you guys have to tell me. Oh, you guys have to tell me. Give me just 1 second to line this up here so you can see the whole thing. I want you guys to be honest with me. Was this too much? This was my picture. I spent almost an hour on this picture. Notice their shirts all have the little ARRL logos on them. And there's money all over the place. And even like some of the money has different logos on it. And of course it says right on there, you pay $59 and the president makes over $300,000 a year. But yeah, that picture, just so you know, is completely AI generated. Yeah, I know. I think it's great. I absolutely love it. And I have this thing where I think that if you're gonna put up an article or you're gonna tell a story, the best thing you can do is have a really good illustration. A good title, of course, but a really good illustration, because what that'll do is that will get people to click in and read what your content is. That's what makes it important. And so I will take the extra 10 or 15 minutes, whatever, to go ahead and to make up a good graphic, so that when people see what I'm doing, they'll see a good graphic there, and they'll want to go in and see what the story is about. I put a good story in about a guy that fell down a crevasse in the snow. He was a hiker, and his little dog never gave up on him, and he managed to get a signal out on his ham radio, believe it or not. And then when they got up there, the little dog barked, and they were able to find him, and he's alive. It's a great story. A life-saving distress call. Ham radio and a loyal dog save a man's life. And it's a neat story. There's also another one in there. Ham radio brings home a daughter after 8 years. A neat story that comes to us from Bangladesh. So that was a pretty neat one. Also, that comet that we're watching out there, the Hubble has actually gotten some decent shots of this thing, but it's still too far away to really get any definition off of it. It's kind of showing the characteristics of a comet, but not exactly. We know that it's an interstellar traveler, and we also are relatively sure that it's going to make it through our solar system and out the other side, and it should clear the gravity well. It's traveling plenty fast enough to break out of Sol's gravity well. Yeah, I'm a prick for detail. I like when you look at a picture and you look at it and you're like, wow, that looks real. That looks so real. And I do that. I don't care. I'll take the extra 10 minutes to put the little logos on their shirt. I just love it. I have such fun with that. And I also know that one of those pricks up there will pull that thing up one day and look at that picture and get really mad at me, and that makes me feel warm inside. I'm kind of kidding and kind of not. And I got an article in there about the solar panel cars. Those are pretty cool. They're actually cars that are just solar panels, and they see how far they can go, how fast they can go. And it's a big challenge every year for these nerds. And I say nerds lovingly because I'm one of them. They get together and they make these like solar cars, and they see how fast they can go and all that. FCC grants 5G satellite licensing, including ham bands. They just gave away some more. Where's the ARRL? Where's the ARRL? Were they up there protecting our bandwidth, man? They were going to protect my bandwidth, man. Who's protecting my bandwidth, man? I watched Strange New World Season 3, Episode 3, and it's good. They got back to making real Star Trek again. They have one loser every season. I'm expecting 2 more losers because they got 2 more seasons. But they've had 3 absolute losers. The fairy tale in the first season, the dancing and singing horseshit in the second season, and this absolute retread wedding horseshit Trelane bullshit from the third season, episode 2. So we basically have had one shit throwaway episode every season in Star Trek Strange New Worlds. Now, we've gotten this one out of the way early. I expect 7 more top-notch episodes. We've already gotten 2. We got 1 bad one. I expect 7 more good ones for it to come out. I really, really hope that these idiots in Hollywood can keep it together for 3 more seasons. Between all of the stupid shit they do in Hollywood now, they try to interject this and try to do that and try to change this and try to virtue signal that. And I get so sick of it. All I want you to do is make Star Trek. Just make Star Trek. And then when you make it, don't do like you did in Discovery. Can I tell you, I love Shaniqua Martin Green. Love her to death. Think she's hot. Okay? What a waste to put her in that role. What a terrible script they wrote for her. That Discovery was just shit. And they had such great characters and great actors. Even Tilly, I liked her. Even, I thought that the Calpian, I think he's amazing. The costuming on that is amazing. There was so many good things about that show. The ship was not a Jeffries ship. It did not have the Jeffries lines in it. That was a mistake. You don't make a Starship and not use the lines that Jeffries made when he made the original Enterprise. Every Enterprise that's come out, every ship that comes out, it has those same angles, the same lines, the same saucer section that gets thicker in the middle. It's got the nacelles that are generally always round. They have more of an exhaust look in the back and more of a round look in the front. Every Matt Jeffries ship looks about the same. And then all of a sudden they make Discovery, which is this ship that doesn't even look like any of the other ships. It spins and it does all this stuff, and I don't know, it has birthday parties for kids. I don't know what it does. It doesn't even look like any of the other ships in Star Trek. And what that is that's people writing shit that don't know what they're doing, okay? When they write Strange New Worlds, it works. Why is that? Why does that work and Discovery not work? Okay? Well, Discovery had a few problems that Enterprise doesn't have. They were a little more doing things back then that were annoying people. That's one problem. But the reason is because there was way too many things on Discovery that were not canon. They broke canon. They destroyed canon. And if you can't do that. To Star Trek fans, canon is the Bible, okay? If Kirk says that he never did this before that in the original series, then by God, it better not happen in the wrong order when we get to these whatever you want to call them, series is about times before other series that have happened. It's crazy. Discovery shit all over canon. The reason they finally moved Discovery wait to the 29th century or whatever was because it was literally the only way they could get them to quit shitting on canon every day. Shit every day on canon. And it's like, I got so sick of it. It's like, this could not have happened because this happened. This could not have happened because they hadn't invented this. They didn't invent this till that. I'm a Trekkie. Maybe you should have got me up there when you wrote the damn thing, because you can't do it that way. And then they had this one episode of Discovery where they're in the elevator shaft, and the elevator shaft is the size of a goddamn football field. And they're floating all around in this elevator shaft, and there's elevators flying by, and there's all this other, and there's these dots going around, and there's all the, there is not miles of open space inside a starship where the elevators fly around like ships inside there. Who wrote that drivel? I mean, it's literally shit, okay? Whatever. Discovery was not that good. I will admit, I got a little bit interested after they went to the 29th century. Why? Because I got to see Starfleet way in the future, the distant future. We got to see what the ships are going to look like in 700 years. We got to see what the star bases are going to look like. And we got to see what happened with the Klingons and what happens with the Romulans. Now, I'll admit, some of the outcomes did not seem right to me, or they seemed all weird and contrived. But it was still interesting. I watched the last 2 seasons of Discovery, and I found the last 2 seasons to be okay. Because I do like the actors, and I do like the characters. I just did not like the fact that they shit all over canon, and the ship does not look like a starship from Starfleet. And they did not write it in tradition form. First of all, it was not episodic. It was written as a series. Star Trek works best when it's episodic. You can have things that carry over from episode to episode, but the episodes should stand alone. That's something that always worked. The only series that made serialized Trek work is Deep Space Nine, and many will argue that was a very different series. I love Deep Space Nine, by the way. One of my favorite runs. But that's really the only one that was like that. Most of them are all episodic. Even Voyager, Enterprise, both episodic. The films are pretty much episodic. One would argue 2 and 3, but so when they went to Discovery, what did they do? The first thing, they went to series instead of episodic. That's the first thing. The second thing, they went to a ship that doesn't look like a Matt Jeffries ship. Number 3, The star of the show is not the captain. That's the only series so far where the star of the show is not a captain. If you want to get technical, Shaniqua Martin Green played a criminal. She's a mutineer. She's a criminal, a felon. She mutinied against her captain. I don't care if she was right or wrong. She mutinied against her captain. And her captain died because of it. And she started a goddamn war with the Klingons. And so, over the course of 3 years, she suddenly gets back in command of a starship again. But the story follows somebody that's not Captain Horatio Hornblower. It was following somebody that's not the captain of the ship. Star Trek is about captains and ships. I want you to think about this. What's the one common thing in Star Trek, okay? It's about captains and their ships. All the crew members are important, but not the captain and the ship is what the story is about. The Enterprise is just as much a character as the captain is. And everything else is secondary. And when you got to Discovery, you got a ship that didn't look right. You got a captain that wasn't the star. The original captain was at Lorca. It turned out he was a treasonous bastard from another universe or some shit. And the story was about a criminal that slowly earned back her wings. She's a good person, don't get me wrong. She's a great actress that plays a great person in the show. But that's not how it was portrayed at the beginning. She's the criminal. She mutinied against her captain. So basically, Discovery is 5 seasons about a mutiner. That's what it is. I'm sorry. Yes, Steve. Deep Space Nine and Voyager are my 2 favorites. I know a lot of people have a hard time when I say that, but I do. I'm a huge Catherine Janeway, Kate Mulgrew fan. I had a crush on that woman for a long time. She's my captain. I honestly think she's one of the best captains, if not the best captain. And I love Deep Space Nine. I love the characters in Deep Space Nine. Big O'Brien fan. I love that guy. No one in Trek suffers more than Chief O'Brien. Nobody. That guy has more torture and hardship. I thought only captains got tortured like that. Oh, my God. It's like somebody says, hey, wouldn't you like to be Captain Kirk? I'm like, hell no, I don't want to be Captain Kirk. Why not? He was tortured in 36 original episodes. Oh, my God. Yeah, I never was a 7 of 9 fan. As a matter of fact, I didn't like her at first because of her chemistry with Kate Mulgrew. You could tell they didn't get along on camera or off camera. Now they've by the end of the show, and of course by now they're good friends, but when she first came on the show, her and Kate did not get along. Kate's the star of the show. She's the captain of the ship. And now we've got this superstar with the hot body and the I call it the underwire catsuit coming in there, and she's the new hot titties that everybody's supposed to be looking at. And there was a rift that grew between Kate Mulgrew and the actress that played 7 of 9. And okay, and you could tell it, you could see it on the air, but it played okay because they were having the same relationship problem on the show as they were having behind the show. So it didn't really matter. And then they ended up working it out anyway. But the bottom line is I'm a big Kate Mulgrew fan. I think she's the best captain there was. Some of the stories, Year of Hell with Red from the 70s show as the bad guy. That's one of my favorite, if not, that's probably my favorite 2-parter Star Trek episode of all time, is Year of Hell. And the guy that plays Red, I'm trying to think of his name. I love that guy. Red and Kitty made the 70s show. I love that show. The show was supposed to be about the kids. The show ended up being about about Red and Kitty because they were funnier than all the kids combined. Red and Kitty made that show. Those two actresses, they were the best. Anyway, I love that episode where Red, he flew the Crenham time ship was his ship, and he kept changing the timeline, trying to bring back his dead wife. And he was obsessed with changing the timeline. And of course, he's changing who lives and dies in an entire sector of space because he wanted to bring his wife back. I mean, it was kind of dark, and it has a great ending. It's a great ending. If you could put a great ending on such a dark episode, they did it. They managed to do it. Great ending. Next Gen's fine, but Next Gen is not near as good a TV as some of the other ones. Next Gen is very milquetoast. I get tired of Next Gen. I mean, it's scanning and reasoning and negotiating and scanning and reasoning and negotiating. I prefer Deep Space Nine, which is more firing phasers and shooting photon torpedoes and wars that involve hundreds of ships on both sides and Dominion and the Cardassians, and it was just crazy. On the Enterprise, even the battle sequences seemed to be mild. Fire phasers, it didn't. When you got to Deep Space Nine, we were mounting 200 torpedo launchers on a space station and activating them all at the same time. I mean, they were doing shit on Deep Space Nine that you had never thought of doing on Next Gen. And by the time we got to the last 3 years of Deep Space Nine, which was when Voyager was, in the first few years it was on, during that time, CGI was starting to come in. Things were getting a lot cheaper to make, and the space shots got so much better. The penultimate episode of Deep Space Nine, it's the second to last episode of Deep Space Nine. In that episode, you will see the largest space battle probably in television history. I don't know. There was 300 or 400 ships versus 300 or 400 ships, and the Cardassians turn on the Dominion right in the middle of the war, right in the middle of this battle. It was badass. And then, of course, my favorite episode of all time is probably, let's see here, let me find it. My favorite episode has to be the Battle of AR-558. It's a Deep Space Nine episode. It's a pivotal episode in the 7th season of Deep Space Nine. And it's the episode where Nog loses his leg. It sets up a couple of really good episodes after this where Nog locks himself in Vic's bar in the holodeck. I love Vic Fontaine. I don't know why. I just love Vic Fontaine. He had such a great part in that. And, but anyway, the Siege of AR-558 basically was written as a Star Trek Vietnam flick. It literally was written like a Vietnam movie. Trench warfare. They're coming over the ridge. There's way too many of them. We're going to fire as many times as we can before they get here. I mean, it was very that. And that, I can remember that episode, the night that I watched that episode, I recorded it on my VCR. And I went back and watched it like 3 more times the same night. I stayed up all night watching it. It was just one of the best episodes I've ever seen of Star Trek. It was bitter. It was grit. It was dark. And it was emotional. I don't know. And once I saw that cemented it for me. I was absolutely in love with Deep Space Nine. I love the Defiant. I love the station itself. I don't know. I think that's just an amazing movie, and nobody gives it its due. Everybody's like, I skipped Deep Space Nine. It's weird. Really? Really? You missed some of the best Star Trek. And I love people that say, I love deep shows that are into like politics and religion and war. Really? Because that's Deep Space Nine. Deep Space Nine was a lot more into politics than any of the other series. It was a lot more into religion than any of the other. You got to learn about an entire religion, the Bajoran religion, and the prophets and everything. I mean, it was amazing. I don't know. To me, Deep Space Nine all around is one of the best runs. It really is. And I think another one would like I said, Voyager would be good. And I love Enterprise. A lot of people dismiss Enterprise. I look at Enterprise as a very valid series in the chain. It's the first. Scott Bakula. I, to this day, feel he was one of the better captains. I love him as a captain. Of course, I have this real problem where I kind of love all the captains. I have to admit. Ensign Mount is an amazing captain. And I even kind of like Shaniqua Martin Green as the captain when she actually got to sit in the chair a few times. And a big Bill Shatner fan. I mean, come on, who could not love Bill? And believe it or not, I'm a huge Patrick Stewart fan. I love Captain Jean-Luc Picard. I think that he was such a deep and amazing character, played by one of the best stage actors in the world. And yeah, what an amazing show. But I was more of a Deep Space Nine Voyager person than I was Next Gen. And the original series, it's hard to rate the original series because it's old, it's dated, but it also is the thing that started everything. If it wasn't for that, we'd have nothing. And so it's hard to even rate the original series in with all the other series that are out there. And I do not rate the cartoon stuff because I don't watch it. I love South Park. I used to watch The Simpsons. I love Family Guy. There's some weird thing about Star Trek. I do not watch cartoon Star Trek. I hated the animated series back in the 70s. I hated it because it was the only other Star Trek I had, and it was garbage. It was shit. And I refused to watch it back then. The music was wrong. The colors were wrong. Scotty had a mustache in every other scene. It was some of the shittiest animation ever. And there was a few good scripts. DC Fontana wrote several of the scripts for the animated series, and I think Gene wrote one. There's a Spock episode in there that's not so bad in the writing side, but the animation was just such shit. And I don't know. It is. They didn't get the licensing for the music. And that hurt it. I think if they would have had all that wonderful original series music, the music in the original series was so robust. It was wonderful. I mean, from the Jaws theme when the Doomsday Machine was about to overtake the Enterprise, that dun dun, that was used again in Jaws. The same notes, the same key, the same pace. It was used again in Jaws. And the music in Star Trek was iconic. Every season, they would write new music for 4 or 5 or 6 different episodes. And then they would take that music and reform it to use it in the rest of the episodes. And so what you ended up with by the 3rd season, they had a huge bank of music to use. They had 6 or 7 different battle music scenes that they could use. And it was amazing. Let's see, going to start watching episodes of Deep Space Nine. Well, there you go. I will tell you, let me be honest with you guys. If you're the type of person that watches the first 2 or 3 episodes and then says, nah, I don't really like it, I almost think you need to skip ahead. Maybe I could even come up by tomorrow. I could come up with a list of maybe 10 episodes. I did this for somebody a while back, and it helped. I had somebody that told me they tried to get in the Trek, but they didn't really like it. And I made them promise me they would do something. And I sent them home with my sign-in for Paramount Plus. And I said, no, what I want you to do is go home, and I don't want you to watch the pilot episodes. Because the pilot episodes on almost every single one suck. The pilot for Voyager, meh. The pilot for Deep Space Nine, meh. They just weren't that good. Nothing has gelled yet. Nobody knows anybody yet. There's no chemistry on set yet. And if you watch all the pilots, you'll be like, they're all just... What I did was, I said, look, I want you to go watch the original series. But I want you to watch only 3 episodes. I want you to watch The Doomsday Machine, and I want you to watch, 2 others. I think I put on there, I can't remember now. It was 3 of the really good episodes. And then I said, now what I want to do is we're going to go to, then you're going to immediately stop, and you're going to go to Next Gen. And you're going to watch just 3 episodes of Next Gen. We're going to watch yesterday's Enterprise, and we'll watch the finale, the 2-part finale, because I think that was really good. There's also 2 or 3 other Next Gen episodes that are really good. You could pick and choose 3 or 4 of them there. And then go to Deep Space Nine. I would pick 3 episodes from Deep Space Nine. I would pick In the Pale Moonlight. That's the one where they try to convince the Romulans that the Cardassians are plotting against them, and it was all subterfuge. It's a deep-ass episode. It has a Garrick in it, which is one of my favorite characters. Anyway, that one and the Battle of AR-558, and probably the final episode of Deep Space Nine. And then Voyager. We would definitely do the 2-part, the one I talked about earlier. We would definitely do that one, Year of Hell. And then there is 2 or 3 other really, really good Voyager episodes that I would choose to put in there. The final episode of Voyager is pretty good too. And then even Enterprise, there's 1 or 2 Enterprise episodes I would throw in there that are really good episodes that are standalone. I would make sure that nothing I put in there is in the middle of a run. I want things that people would watch. And then say, look, what do you think now about Star Trek? Because what I find, like when I first started watching Deep Space Nine, I didn't like it. I watched the first 3 episodes and did not like it and turned it off. And about 2 years later, a friend of mine walked up and said, man, that Deep Space Nine is getting good. I'm like, really? I gave up on that shit 2 years ago. No, it's getting good. It's getting really good. And I'm like, well, okay. All right, let me see. I'm going to go watch it again. Sure enough, I went back and watched season 4 was just premiering. And I went and watched the season 4 premiere. And the whole Dominion War was starting and everything was going on. And I was like, wow, this is freaking good. And I watched it to the end. And then I went back and watched the first 3 years. And that's how I watched Deep Space Nine originally. I know it's crazy, but that's how I did it. And now I love it. Voyager, I fell in love with pretty early on. That was a no-brainer. I wasn't much on the original couple of episodes, but it wasn't long before I started really liking Voyager. I just liked the whole setup of it, and I liked the cast and everything. And some people didn't get their due in that. I hear a lot of shit talking about Robert Beltran, the guy that played Chakotay. I think he did a great job. I do. I liked him. He was in that movie Night of the Comet, if you remember back. I thought Robert Beltran was great in that. And he had some weak writing, but that was not his fault. And I think that the man that played Tuvok, Tim Russ, I think he's amazing. I love Tim Russ in that. He's probably one of the best Vulcans since Spock and before Spock. I think he's about the only other Vulcan that's really good. There's a lot of good things in that show. There was also some things I wasn't much on. Harry Kem staying an ensign he's a bridge ensign for 7 years. I mean, I can take issue with certain things like that. But for the most part, it's a really good show. It's a really good show. There's a couple of really neat, real thought-provoking episodes in Voyager. Really good stuff. All right, what else do we got? It's getting pretty late. I've been on for almost 2.5 hours, and I'm going to be signing off soon. Is there anything else you guys want to talk about? See, you guys got me going on Star Trek, and here it is almost an hour later. I hope, Tony, I hope I'm not boring you guys to death. I can talk about this stupid shit about Star Trek all night long. I absolutely love Star Trek. It's one of my favorite things in the whole world. I believe that not only is Star Trek responsible for giving us the push that we needed to get to the moon, that I believe that Star Trek is probably the single largest motivator of our space program of all time. And I want you to, there's several reasons I say that. Number one, the USS Enterprise, the original 16-foot shooting model of the USS Enterprise, is proudly displayed in our nation's capital at the Smithsonian Air and Space Museum in the main gallery, right inside the front door. It's the first thing you see. And it's the only fake ship in the building. The Wright brothers' plane's in there. We've got capsules that went to the moon, around the moon and back, and they're sitting in there. And right next to it, the 16-foot shooting model of the USS Enterprise from Star Trek, the original series. Why is it in there? It's in there because it inspired a space race. It inspired a space age. It inspired people to reach for the stars. At a time that we're coming out of war after war and poverty and everything else, Star Trek showed us a bright future. I want you to think about something. Of all the sci-fi out there, Star Trek is the only one that's consistently non-dystopian, meaning they're one of the few futuristic shows that always shows the future as eventually turning out bright. No matter how bad the problem is in the universe, at the end of the episode, the future is bright. The universe is saved and everything is great. Nothing else is like that. Whether you're talking Battlestar Galactica or you're talking Space 1999 or you're talking Mad Max or you're I don't care what you're talking about. Any of these, any show about the future, they're nearly all dystopian. They're nearly all about a smoldering nuclear ruin and what's left. Not Star Trek. Star Trek would provide you every single day. They would provide you with a show that was relevant, both technically relevant, because Star Trek's tech was all based on real theory, real science. And it gave you a show that had real emotion, that was written well, and that would make you feel that morals were still important in 300 years, and that someone had to go out in the stars and bring peace between the races. And who was it? It was us. We did that. And I got to tell you something. When they came out and they started the Space Force here in the United States, they did this just amazes me. I got to tell you, I was sitting there the day that they created the Space Force. Was that 6 years ago, 7 years ago? And I was literally sitting there and thinking, hey, they're actually creating what's going to eventually be the United Federation of Planets. It's what's eventually going to be the Starfleet Command. It's going to eventually be the thing that, the thing that we've been talking about all this time. And they're actually going to create this. And I thought, how neat is it that finally they're going to do this? And Jesus, I'm just trying to open this in a new tab and it's giving me a fit. All right, this is not perfect, but it'll work. All right, so what they had to do was they were going to come up with a new logo for the United States Space Force, okay? And they had to come up with a logo, and they did. There it is. The logo on the right was created by Gene Roddenberry and other people on the production staff 35 years before the logo on the left. And if that's not the same freaking logo, I mean, we're literally living, we're the past of the future. In other words, Star Trek is writing the future before it happens. This is like quantum causality here. I mean, you could say, hey, look, they just literally liked the Star Trek logo, so they made the US logo look like it. Really? You think? Could be. Even the delta with the planet behind it looks like the Next Generation comm badges. The swoosh goes the same way. It's got little dividers between the letters on each side. I mean, it even says Department of the Air Force, which is the division that the United States Space Force is a part of the Department of the Air Force. Well, Starfleet Command is part of the United Federation of Planets. It's literally the same logo. The stars in the background. I mean, for Christ's sake. When I saw this, I was moved to tears. Because this is truly, absolutely truly, literally the past and the future. It's like a loop. I don't know. I think it's amazing. I think Gene was way ahead of his time. It wasn't perfect. Some of Gene's ideas were out there, but we're finding out that they might not be quite as far out there as we thought. Yeah, I believe there's already a Galactic Federation out there. We're just way too young to be a part of it at this point, I think. I mean, I'm pretty sure that's what's going on. They just haven't included us yet because, like we learned in Star Trek, we don't make first contact with another race until that race travels faster than light for the first time. That's called the Prime Directive in Star Trek. Once a race has traveled faster than the speed of light, they've created light speed, or they have created power by creation of antimatter. If one of those two things happens, then at that point, the United Federation of Planets, through Starfleet, can then approach that planet and introduce ourselves and say, look, we want you to be part of our space race now. In Star Trek, in the movie, First Contact, in the movie, the Vulcans were flying by and they saw Zefram Cochrane's warp ship traveling right above the speed of light, moving out away from the planet. And they came over to see who flew the ship. And their rule at the time was, as long as you're able to travel faster than the speed of light, we are allowed to contact you and let you know of us. And that's how we made first contact with the Vulcans. And that's when it all started. I don't know, Aquarius. I don't think we're going to be anywhere near joining any galactic anything in my lifetime. I mean, we haven't learned a thing out there on the streets, really. Star Trek First Contact is a great movie. It's a great movie. I love the guy that plays, what's his name? I know his name and I can't remember it. The guy that plays Zefram Cochrane. I just love him. Because Geordi goes, your statue's going to be right over there. And he goes, statue? He freaks out and takes off running. I love that movie. That's a great movie. I love the woman that plays, the woman that gets beamed up to the ship and ends up going through the ship with Picard. I love her. She's played in so many things. I love that movie. That's a great movie. Lots of hand-to-hand combat, lots of Borg bullshit, lots of, your typical stuff. And, anyway. We don't really ever find out what happened to that Enterprise, by the way, the Enterprise E. In the last episode of Picard, it's mentioned that Worf got it destroyed, but they don't say how. That was pretty good. By the way, the last episode of Picard, I haven't mentioned this yet. The last episode of Picard is one of the best hours of Star Trek there is. The rest of Picard is okay. The first 2 seasons are okay. The 3rd season is pretty good. The last episode is about 53 minutes. It's the best hour out there. It's the best hour on TV. And so if you haven't seen that yet, it's worth it. Go check it out. They literally get the entire band back together on the Enterprise D. I mean, when you see them walk out onto that bridge, if it doesn't bring a tear to your eye, you're not a Trekkie. Yeah, that would be great, except our faster than light travel is still 50 years away anyway. Maybe more, because remember, it's not accelerating and decelerating that we need the math for. It's going to be the inertial dampening. We have to figure out a way to create zero gravity in a high inertia situation. And once we do that, then we can then accelerate much faster. But still, it still cannot be with current day technology. It would take us 100 years just to blast enough fuel up there to make one attempt at it, and then you'd have nothing to stop and nothing to come back. You would almost need to run an out route, like you would need to go and do a burn and get up near the speed of light and then just stay there and run an elliptical orbit and come back towards Sol. That's what you would have to do. For the Love of Spock is an amazing... Yeah, I got emotional on that one too, because I love Leonard Nimoy. He's one of my favorite. Leonard Nimoy, Jimmy Doohan, Bill Shatner, they're all... D. Kelly, DeForest Kelly. These are some of the best people I've ever known in my life, and I didn't know any of them. I got to meet Jimmy Doohan. I don't think he'll remember it because he was so drunk, but we got to meet one night at a convention, and I had 2 minutes with the man, and I shook his hand. And to this day, I'm just happy that happened 40 years ago. What were the engines in the Enterprise? Well, there was 2 separate engines. There was the impulse engines, which actually used a process of combustion to create drive force. And then there was the warp nacelles, which were the 2 round things that were above. And the nacelle, the impulse drive that I mentioned originally, that was mounted on the back of the saucer section. And it burned down through the middle, between the nacelles. And then the nacelles were up there. They didn't get used unless they were going to warp speed. And what the nacelles do is they warp space in such a way that the space in front of the ship becomes less than the dense than the space behind the ship. And the whole idea is you're folding space basically, and you're creating a void in front of you, and you're traveling through it. Thank you, bed for me. Okay. But anyway, yeah, there's 2 separate engines. The biggest thing people get messed up on these sci-fi shows, and even some of the shows themselves get messed up, is you have faster than light travel and you have slower than light travel. Okay, and everything has to be in one of those 2 categories. And the problem is if you accelerate through all the different speeds to get up to faster than light, it would take years and years and years. So all of the FTL drives or the warp drives or the subspace drives that they have in all these different shows, whether we're talking about Stargate, Battlestar, Star Trek, all of them did the same thing basically. They folded space so that you could travel through it. They did it in kind of slightly different ways, but all of them had their way of making this faster than light travel happen, because none of them accelerated to the speed of light. They simply created the travel of speed of light, because that's the only way to really do it. Because if you started burning your engines right now, it would take you 20 years to get to the speed of light, and that's at 2 Gs. So that means the entire 20 years that you're flying, getting closer to the speed of light, that entire 20 years, you weigh twice what you weigh now. It's at 2 Gs. So you're living your entire life as a 400-pound person in space and whatever, eating space food. And after 20 years, when you get to the other end, you're going to die anyway, because you're going almost the speed of light and you've arrived at your destination. It takes just as long to slow down as it does to speed up. So in other words, you would have to accelerate to the speed of light and then figure out how long it took you to accelerate to the speed of light. And then when you get that same distance from your destination, you would need to spin your ship around and begin firing your engines for another 20 years. And that way, you would be able to null your rates when you reach your destination. That's the big misconception about space movies is, you even in Star Trek, you see the engines give out and the ship stops. Inertia in space doesn't stop. It continues because there's nothing to stop it. On Earth, we have friction. We have the friction of the tires and the bearings. We have the friction of the air. We have the friction of all the moving parts. We have the friction of everything. And so when you let off the gas in your car, it will eventually just come to a stop in the middle of the road. Without touching anything, it will eventually just come to a stop. In space, if you're doing 10,000 miles an hour, when they find that ship hundreds of years from now, floating through open space, it's still going to be going the same speed. It will not have slowed down unless it went through a gravitational field or something that might alter it slightly. But the point is, it's still going to be moving at that speed, and it will always move at that speed. It will continue to move at that speed until something affects it, either externally or internally, to slow it down. So in other words, if you take all your energy to get up to speed, you're dead, because you have nothing to slow down. You have to slow down. And you need just as much energy to slow down as you had to speed up. That's why all the space movies don't use conventional engines. They use FTL drives and warp drives. And what did they call on Space 1999? It was the Quella drive or something. Every space show has their special drive that allows faster than light travel to happen in a relatively small amount of time. You're going to keep this guy up all night talking about Trek. Let's see here. Yes, Aquarius. It is said that the Enterprise uses a matter-antimatter drive. And what that means is that warping of space that we talked about, that's the mechanism. The power that powers it, instead of splitting atoms like we do, what they do is they actually allow matter and antimatter to have a limited reaction. How they get the antimatter is really never completely explained. But they get this little teeny bit of antimatter, and it's like the size of a teardrop is enough to run a whole starship. They get this little teeny piece of antimatter, and then they allow it to interact with matter in an electric field. Then, while it's doing that, they then pull the power off of that field and they run it through dilithium crystals. Those crystals modulate the electricity into something that we're able to use. At that point, it is sent up through the pylons to the nacelles. That's why the engineering section sits in the center of the secondary hull, right below the two pylons. And then as that energy is created, it travels up the pylons into the nacelles, and at that point, that is how they warp space in order to enter into a faster than light situation. Oh boy, the Queller drive. Yeah, do you like Space? It's hard to find people that even know Space 1999. I love Space 1999. It's a crazy thing to see where Star Trek had the really strong writing. The budgets may not have been the best, but they had the really strong writing in Star Trek. Space 1999, they had everything going for them. They had some of the best sets there ever was. They had some amazing stuff going for them, but the writing was weak. They didn't put enough money into getting writers. And so you had a really neat concept and really great sets and really cool actors and actresses and really neat costumes. And unfortunately, the writing just didn't kind of keep up with the rest of it. But I love that show. If anybody's really into science fiction, you need to go back and watch both seasons of Space 1999, and you need to watch the first season of Battlestar Galactica. There you go. This is the Friday Night Nerd Talk. Yeah, that's obscure that I came up with the Queller Drive from Space 1999. The man's name was Angst Queller. Why I remember this stuff, I don't know. He created a special faster-than-light drive, and this drive was deadly to anybody that was behind the ship. And apparently it came on at some point and killed some people, and he was having to live with it. Yeah. Listen, I do sci-fi. I love sci-fi. It's one of the 5 things I do here. I talk about ham radio, space weather, terrestrial weather, breaking news, sci-fi. It's on there. And I love talking about it. I love doing it. I wish I could show it while I'm talking about it and stuff like that. But the copyright on that stuff is tremendous. And I just can't risk it. But the good news is we can talk about it as much as we want. And I've been thinking about, and this is a little weird, but I want you guys to bear with me. If we're on Zoom, I'm allowed to show, I can show what I want on Zoom because it's not a public broadcast. I've been thinking about inviting all of the regulars one night to a Zoom meeting, and we can do a rewatch of an episode, and we can talk about it while it's going on. It'll be fun. Well, Aquarius, it's happening. I'll tell you why it's happening. AI, all these years, computers have been growing exponentially about every 18 months. And that's why it's taken all these years to get from the rooms and rooms and rooms full of vacuum tubes to the smartphone that we have today. It's taken a long time. But something's happened over the last few years, and that's AI. And AI has now brought that from 18 months down to about 6 months, 4 months. Things are growing exponentially now, several times a year. And because of this, we're going to see medical advancements, space travel advancements, computing advancements, logic advancements, scientific advancements. We're going to see all that stuff. And we're going to see it growing at an amazing rate coming up really soon. And I think this is going to help us a lot when it comes to getting to space, because the AI is going to find better ways to do everything. You know, there's a city that just put all their codes into AI, and the AI came back and rewrote everything and made it half as big. And it still has all the same laws and all the same stuff in it. This is what we need to do. Space travel can be done. We need to simplify the process. We need to get around a few things. And of course, the number one thing we have to do to make space travel great again, the number one thing we have to do is we have to beat inertia. We have to find a way to control gravity. Once we find a way to electromagnetically control gravity, and we can affect tissue like we affect magnets now, once we can do that, then we can create a situation where there's no inertia and we can travel really fast. We could go a lot faster than we do now because we don't have this horrible inertia. And so that's what we have to do. And I think AI is going to help us develop anti-gravity technology. The moment we get anti-gravity technology, now, instead of truckers on the highway, now you drive the truck over and you park the truck on this parking lot. And you lock it down and you chain it down to the parking lot. And then once the parking lot's loaded, the parking lot floats up and it floats to Atlanta where it lands. and then all the trucks are loaded off. I mean, we're going to be there in 10, 20 years. As soon as we can control gravity, and we're going to get there. AI is going to get us there a lot quicker than I ever thought we'd get there. Once we get there, all bets are off. Because once we get there, we can now move a house if we need to. We can now float buildings around. We can make anything that weighs something weigh nothing. And once you can do that, it changes everything. Now we bring in the possibility of things like zero gravity sleep. I want you to think about this. Zero gravity sleep. What's the problem you have when you sleep? Well, I sleep this way, my neck hurts. I sleep this way, my arm goes to sleep. I sleep this way, my hips hurt. You know, every morning I wake up, my lower back hurts a little bit because of the way I lay and all that. We can eliminate all that. When you go to bed at night, you just turn the gravity off in your room. I know it sounds fucked up, but think about it. I mean, think about it. If you slept in a pocket on the wall like they do on the space station, those guys on the space station, they say it takes them a week or so to get used to sleeping in 0G. Or I should say near 0G. But once you get used to it, there's no better sleep. There's no better night's sleep. And I'm going to tell you why. There's no sore muscles. There's no sore back. There's no bullshit. You're sleeping in a perfect environment. A perfect environment where there's not a single part of your body that has to do anything. I mean, it's the best. AI is not only going to help with it, it's going to revolutionize it in a short period of time. Victor. I love the old Chrome Centurions from Battlestar Galactica. They are great. We are the Cylons. I loved it. I love when they interject real history into science fiction shows, and I'll tell you the two big examples of that. Battlestar Galactica with the pyramids, because the people that came here and built the pyramids were the same people that built the 12 colonies, which ended up being the people that were on Battlestar Galactica. Also, Stargate SG-1, probably the most underrated science fiction series there ever was. If somebody come to me and said, look, I kind of like Star Trek, I kind of like the other stuff, but I'm looking for something new, have you watched Stargate SG-1? Because if you have not, that's what I would binge next. It's an amazing run. Richard Dean Anderson. It's got amazing actors in it, amazing writing, amazing sets. One of the best all-around, other than Star Trek, the best all-around science fiction franchise of all time, Stargate. And it's underrated. It's as underrated as hell. 10 seasons, Stargate SG-1. 5 seasons, Stargate Atlantis. 2 seasons, Stargate Universe. You're talking 17 24-episode seasons. You could binge this for months. And it's all based on the pyramids. The pyramids were landing pads for the gold Hattaks. And that's what they were. And when they would come in and land, and they would do that because inside the pyramid, they would ring down into the pyramid using rings. And then when they were in the pyramid, there would be the Chapa'ai, which is the Stargate. And yeah, I speak a little Gould. Anyway, and basically, they would then ring to other planets using the Stargate that was protected inside the Sagret or the pyramid, whatever it was. I find Stargate to be one of the best sci-fi shows ever. It is by far my number 2, right behind Star Trek. I love Richard Dean Anderson. The whole smart-ass Jack O'Neill, it just plays good with me, because I like to be the smart-ass in the room, too. He's always the smart-ass in the room. And what's funny is he played MacGyver, right? He was the guy that used to make a nuclear bomb out of bubble gum and a piece of wire. And now, in this show, every time Carter starts talking about cross-connecting this and doing that, he goes, He doesn't like any technical talk at all. And it's really funny to watch that because he's kind of like the opposite of MacGyver in there. And it's funny because 3 or 4 times in the show, they refer to, well, I'll have to MacGyver something up. And they actually refer to the other show in the show, which I love stuff like that. I absolutely love stuff like that. So, but yeah, Stargate. That would be, if I had one to choose, that would be for you. It'd be the second one. And yeah, Caprica. That was part of the whole Battlestar Galactica. If Stargate's a little too old for you, which it shouldn't be, it's actually aged pretty well. But if Stargate's a little too old for you, the new Battlestar Galactica would be my first choice for you then. If you're wanting something darker and newer, it would be the new Battlestar Galactica. You got to go watch it in order. There's season, miniseries. You got to watch it in order. Occam and Razor and all that. Watch it in order. But if you watch it... if you watch the new Battlestar, the old one, the one season of the old one was really good too. But they only did, it was like 20 episodes or something, 24 episodes. That was all they did. It was like, we really could have used some more. And then they brought it back a few years later and called it Battlestar 1980. Please do not watch that, especially with children. Okay, it's disgusting. It's probably the worst sci-fi that you could watch. I mean, it's literally Spock's brain with really bad writing. Anyway, so we'll just leave it at that. So yeah, there you go. Stargate SG-1, Stargate Atlantis, really, really good. And by the way, the guy that plays the Doctor on Voyager, he actually is in a lot of Stargate and actually plays the commander on Atlantis for a little while. And he's really, really good. Robert Picardo, I like him. Really good actor. There's a few, Connor Trenier, who plays the engineer on Enterprise. He comes back to play a Wraith, a bad guy, in Atlantis. So that's fun too. There's some really it's just a really great show. So yeah, when it comes to science fiction, there's so many good shows out there, and a lot of times I'll find people love science fiction, but they've never actually sat and watched Stargate or sat and watched Deep Space Nine or sat and watched the new Battlestar or even the old Battlestar. And they're all just so good. Or if you're in the older stuff, Space 1999. If you've never watched an episode of Space 1999, go see if you could stomach it. It's old sci-fi, but it's good. It was made at Pinewood Studios in England, and the leads are American, but everybody else in the show is British. I love that show. I do. And the second season is very different than the first season because they tried to reimagine it and they tried to make it a totally different show. And it turned out to be a different show, but not necessarily better or worse. It was just different. And but the second season is worth watching. I love the early 70s like disco style action music that they use in that show. I just love that shit, man. I love old sci-fi. It reminds me of my childhood, All right. Guys, I guess that's it for tonight. I do appreciate it. We're coming up right now at 3 hours of broadcasting tonight, and I said I was going to do one. If that's not a bonus, I don't know what is. I hope you guys enjoyed my ranting about science fiction, and I hope that you found the discussion to be enlightening. I'm not sure about tomorrow. I had big plans this weekend, but everything got canceled. And I'm literally now sitting here doing absolutely nothing this weekend. So I may end up, I'm not sure yet, but I may end up coming on and doing a live tomorrow just because I have nothing else to do but come on and hang out with you guys. So I may do that. So watch for me tomorrow sometime. I've got a couple of projects I'm working on with other computers, so there may be some things going up and down tomorrow too. Since I've got some time, I'm going to try to go ahead and get a few of these other things worked out with things, and we'll see if we can get that last. I think, well, maybe not. Maybe I've got everything going. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, I think I might have one more computer here that I can get up doing something tomorrow. And then I got to go around tomorrow morning and reset everything, restart every computer, and then reset everything back up on every computer. It takes about 15 minutes per system, and then it'll be good for a couple days again. Well, thanks, Racknet. I appreciate that. Thanks, Ding and Aquarius and Victor and Tony and everybody else that's come in tonight. I really do appreciate it. Yeah. Oh, God, I would love to sleep in 0G. That would completely help my arthritis, too. All right. Let's see. Anything else? Last call for the chat room, guys. I'm getting ready to sign her off for the night. Last call for the chat room. All right. And I still have one show to put together tonight, so I'm going to go do that now. I got a weekend show that my client sent me the segments for, and I'm going to go put that together, dial into work, install it in the system so it'll play at 6 a.m. in the morning. I still have to do that tonight before I go to bed. Yep, isn't that awesome? All right, guys. I'm going to see what I can find to do tomorrow, and I may just come back on here. We'll see what happens. I'm going to play it by ear. Everybody have a good night out there. My name's Ian, live from the Starship Studios in Southwest Florida. This has been the Sights and Sounds of Earth right here on Starship Adventures. We'll see you guys on our next adventure or down the log, or perhaps tomorrow night, but Sunday night for sure. We'll see you then. Everybody have a good night out there. 7 3s. We'll see you next time.